Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly K. This is Grizzly True Crime. Today we're going to do a little bit of trial prep because there's an interesting trial that started today with jury selection. Thank you to everyone who emailed me this and you said, maybe you want to take a look at this. I'm like, I'll have a look. And then I'm like, oh my goodness. So I have not followed this case for all the years or anything like that. I'm not an expert at the case, but I sure do have documents. So we're going to go over those because the probable cause affidavit, it's very detailed, okay? So buckle up for that. And then hopefully we'll be all prepared for tomorrow. Of course, as I say, there would probably be mountains more of information to learn. Hopefully we'll learn lots more during the trial together. But today we're going to go over all the main details so that we all feel prepared for tomorrow. This case took place or takes place in Florida. And so it's called Lake Clermont, Florida. That's where it takes place, okay? And so it started with jury selection today. It's been a long time coming for this trial. Oh my goodness. When you look at the timeline, what? It's taken forever to get to trial, okay? This murder allegedly happened in 2015. So we're going to get to that now. And the thing is that the trial is set to last about 2 weeks. I contacted the court clerk today because it wasn't really clear from the court dockets, like, when is it starting and when does it finish? And they said they've set aside about 2 weeks for it. Okay, but it might be a little bit shorter or a little bit longer if they need more time or if they need less time. So we shall see. The state apparently has approximately 100 witnesses. And of course, we'll be covering it in a defluffed, abbreviated way, which means we'll normally start, about 2 hours after the live court feed starts so that we can just skip over any coffee breaks, lunch breaks, things like that, okay? So, without further ado, let me bring this up. This is a picture up here, as I always put, of the victim in this case, which, thank goodness, somebody's been arrested for his murder. This took a long time, as I say. So we're going to go over this probable cause affidavit, okay? And then I'm going to show you a crazy video as well from the defendant, which was very interesting. And then we'll be all up to speed. So, okay, let me just see what you guys say. Please like and share. Kendall said, you all do realize that most of the people here in Florida are not from Florida. These two people were from upstate New York. Yes. Thank you so much. And welcome to any Floridians in chat either way or wherever you're from. Also to my moderators, patrons, members, subscribers, any newbies in chat here, welcome as well. I hope you'll consider subscribing. So let's go over this. It's called Lake County, right? Affidavit of Probable Cause. It is, oh my goodness. I'm just starting with this because it's going to give us the best overview, okay? So, Affidavit of Probable Cause comes now. The affiant, Sergeant Tamara Dale, a sworn law enforcement officer who personally appeared before a notary, public, or certified officer. It's the usual that they would say on an Affidavit of Probable Cause, but here they say that the laws have been violated in Lake County, Florida, and that on or about November 7th to 10th of 2015, 2015. Wow, Laurie Leigh Shaver did commit homicide, second degree, domestic, and accessory after the fact to the homicide. Okay. The other thing is that this defendant that we're going to see quite a bit of, I'm sure, at the trial, I think she might even testify based on what her attorney has said, right, from some of the clips I've seen. Do you know what her defense is? She literally wants to blame the daughter. Apparently her daughter, who was 7 years old at the time that her dad was shot, says she pulled the trigger. I really worry that that's from the mom's influence, from the defendant's influence. So that's part of her defense. I really want to show you this. Is it this one? They say the defendant's current defense, as articulated in the defendant's notice, is that either the defendant or her minor child shot the decedent while trying to defend themselves or each other during an incident of domestic violence. This case is unfortunately one where I think it seems like, of course, Laurie Shaver is innocent until proven guilty. It just seems like she was the aggressor in many relationships, and she was using domestic violence and her children. It's like playing cards. It's terrible. Kendall, welcome. Kathy says, I made it. Phoebe says, it's crazy to blame your 7-year-old child. Yes, she's been with her child for 7 years alone. What has she put into the child's head? I mean, that is a risky move and terrible to think that she could use her child in that way. Let's see what happens though, right? Let's see what happens at the trial. Maybe I should just zoom in a little bit more for you so that you can see this a little more clearly. How about that? Like we make it a little bit bigger. Just when I read all of this today, I've been deep diving. I've been in the rabbit hole. Can you tell? I was just like, what and who and where and when? Can't even believe. Okay, so the charges that Laurie Leigh Shaver is facing is homicide in the 2nd degree and accessory after the fact to the homicide. Now they say that the events hereinafter set forth occurred at Sandy Pines Road. Let me just get my pointer going. In Clermont, Florida, in Lake County. This property was owned exclusively by victim Michael Douglas Shaver and the defendant Laurie Leigh Shaver, husband and wife. The events occurred between November 7th to 10th of 2015, during which time the only adults that lived in the home were Michael and Laurie Shaver, and that during this time frame, Laurie Shaver also worked from home. Now, I know you can see a picture of Michael up here. If you've never seen Laurie Shaver in your life, don't worry. After this, we're going to look at a clip of her sitting with her attorney, which at some point she had made a GoFundMe to try to raise funds for her defense and to prove her innocence and all that, which of course everyone can get an attorney. They have to do their very best. Of course, she's innocent until proven guilty. It's just like, it's quite a crazy video clip. We're going to look at that, right? Jewel Jet said, thank you for being so organized, informed, empathetic, and amazing. Thank you so, so much. Okay, so I know we're mostly visual learners, so now you don't have pictures, so many pictures from me, but we'll get there. I just want to make sure we all understand this case by tomorrow, because now we've got a bit of a time crunch. We got to be ready by tomorrow, okay? So the events occurred between November 7th and 10th of 2015, and it took 3 years for anyone to report Michael missing. That's very sad, right? Okay, so during the time, which the only adults that lived in the home were Michael and Laurie Shaver, that during this time, Laurie Shaver also worked from home. Deputies responded to the Shaver home for a well-being check on victim Michael Shaver on February 16th of 2018. It's like 3 years later, at the request of a friend, Scott, who reported no one had seen Michael since the end of 2015. This friend felt the totality of the circumstances surrounding Michael Shaver's disappearance were suspicious, and that his wife, defendant Laurie Shaver, wasn't being truthful about his whereabouts. Laurie vaguely claimed that Michael left in a black SUV, yet Scott, the friend, knew that his possessions were still in the home afterwards. Scott found the text messages to Michael's boss, quitting his job and giving away his tools to be unlike him. So, Michael disappears, but Laurie allegedly takes over his phone and all his social media accounts and starts messaging his boss saying, I'm quitting my job. Starts messaging family members, just leave me alone. All sorts of things like that. So it took a long time for people to actually catch on, especially amongst each other, like where is he? Like we haven't seen him in a long time. Kendall also says she's not in jail. Yes, if you read the description box, I did put that in there as well. This defendant, let me actually pull up a picture of her quickly, hold on. I just want to show you. She was arrested in September of 2020, and she actually bonded out. Here's a picture. Let's do a little mugshot here quickly. And this lady, whew, the things that she's accused of doing, oh my goodness. It gets quite crazy. Okay. So she bonded out. She posted bail for $50,000 and she's been out ever since. Wow. Okay. So the 7-year-old, by the way, Marie said a 7-year-old cannot maintain a scripturally under cross and truth will come out. That minor was 7 years old at the time of this crime, and it's taken so long to get to trial. Of course, now they're 14, almost turning 15, right? Okay, so she was arrested. She's charged with those charges we just went over, but she posted bond, and she's been out at home ever since, waiting for this trial. So 4 years of waiting, 3.5 years of waiting, right? September 2020. No, it's already September. Oh my goodness, 2020. Time flies, eh? 4 years she's been at home. Wow. Okay, so they said Laurie Shaver wasn't being truthful about his whereabouts. Laurie vaguely claimed that Michael left in a black SUV, yet Scott knew his possessions to still be at the home afterwards. Scott, the friend, found the text messages to Michael's boss quitting his job and giving away his tools to be unlike him. Scott believed that Laurie was pretending to be Michael on Facebook. Scott also thought that the concrete slab or fire pit that appeared on the property after Michael's disappearance, along with Laurie quickly remarrying, was suspicious. So that's another one. She's like, oh, he left. He got picked up in a black SUV. Don't know where. He just abandoned the family. Now, Laurie apparently met Michael when she was 13. They were like school sweethearts, right? They dated from a young age. From age 13, they'd been together a long time. So this is like, wow. So he just like, she says they had 2 children together. She says he just packs his bags and disappears, abandons the whole family, wants to be left alone. She made up that he lived in Georgia. And when people asked, well, where? No, he got picked up in a black SUV and, like then his wallet and phone, they're in the house. And then the next minute, as this friend notices, now she's building a fire pit. She was posting it on Facebook as well. So it's not just like, a theory. It's there, and she was posting and bragging about it on Facebook that now she's ordered the cement and now she's done this and she's going to build this fire pit. Spoiler alert, they found Michael's body under that fire pit, where she'd actually invited people over to have barbecues or like roast marshmallows or whatever. Like, oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, so Scott believed that Laurie was pretending to be Michael on his Facebook. Scott also thought that the concrete slab or fire pit that appeared on the property after Michael's disappearance, along with Laurie quickly remarrying, was suspicious. And she remarried while she was still married, technically, to Michael, right? Scott consulted with Michael's family, who also agreed that he would never leave his kids to start a new family, as Laurie claimed that he had. And the decision was made for Scott to contact authorities and report Michael missing. So the friend, everybody started getting very worried, thinking, well, that's really weird, but it took so long. I'm amazed it took so long, between all of them. It's obviously also with the impersonations and everything, right? Johnny DeSant says, the old random concrete slab. I know, right? The old random concrete slab just all of a sudden. It's almost like, I don't know, it reminds me a bit of if you mix in, I hope this doesn't offend anyone. I know people fall on the different side of the fence with this case, but like Ashley Benefield and then a little bit Chad Daybell and Laurie Vallow. It's like, so there's so many things going on in this case that I'm like, it's very crazy, okay? And then to still say right now, before the trial starts, that her daughter did it, she claims her daughter shot her husband. I mean, like, what? And she's going to make that daughter testify, meaning the daughter is going to testify. Oh my goodness, the daughter's now 14, as I say. Now, Laurie claimed, that he just left to start a new family, okay? So the decision was made for Scott, the friend, to contact authorities and report Michael missing. While investigating the well-being check, Defendant Laurie Shaver told deputies that Michael left the family and he was in Georgia. She said the last time that Michael was at their house was when he picked up his belongings after his arrest for domestic violence in September of 2014, and the last time she saw him was during a DCF custody trial in 2015. Now, apparently, that September 2014 DV arrest, as he said, she said, she is allegedly could be the aggressor in many relationships and situations with other men that have come forward since. And so there was something going on with a gun, and him grabbing it and her wrestling with it and all that kind of stuff. And he didn't want them both to be arrested. Otherwise, the children would go to CPS. So apparently the story is that he's just like, it's fine, whatever. Just arrest me. It's all good. So she's obviously, oh, I sound so biased, but I'll try not to be. It's just very difficult. She sounds completely unhinged, okay? When you hear all of this, you're just like, damn, okay, but we'll try our very best to give her the benefit of the doubt. But it's like, this sounds a little bit like a deflection. Like, oh, you're looking for Michael? No. Last time he was here, he was arrested for domestic violence. Yeah, he packed up and left. He's moved to Georgia. The thing is, she didn't consider data, cell phone data, bank account data, and things like that. Okay. Lachey says, any Walmarts in this case? Yes. You guys are asking how old is the daughter now? 14. So they say Laurie was cooperative and allowed deputies to search the property until they asked about the concrete slab fire pit and if they could have a cadaver dog conduct a sniff of the slab. Laurie then told deputies to leave her property. Detectives subsequently learned Michael had no current cell phone, and his Florida driver's license, US passport, and FAA pilot's medical certificate had expired. He had no driver's license in any other state. His vehicle had been repossessed in February of 2016, and court paperwork for a civil lawsuit for non-payment of a credit card had gone unserved on him because he was unable to be located. Every acquaintance of Michael who was contacted advised that they hadn't seen him since the end of 2015. Michael Shaver was entered into the NCIC as a missing person, and the investigation into his disappearance began. Whoa. During the missing person investigation, Travis, Laurie Shaver's boyfriend, who she began dating in approximately January to April of 2016, so Michael was murdered between November 7th and 10th of 2015. So then she starts, sorry, I just knocked my straw. She starts dating this other guy, Travis, sometime between January and April of 2016. And he told deputies that Laurie made the statement about Michael Shaver, saying, "It's not that he's missing. He's no longer walking this earth." Whoa, she told her boyfriend that? Like, did she drink some wine before or what? Because she's just blabbing this out. It's not that he's missing. He's no longer walking this earth. Oh my goodness. And then they say, Laurie also told him regarding Michael that something bad had happened and there was a body on the property. Now here's where we're going to say what we always say, isn't it? Can you hear me? Can you hear what I'm about to say? If you see something, say something. If somebody says something bad happened and there's a body on the property, call the police. Do the right thing. Do it. Because they might actually be telling you the truth. In this case, she was. So for her to say, it's not that he's missing, he's no longer walking on this earth, and something bad happened and there's a body on the property. Yeah, that was true. How scary is that? Okay. Someone says, Healing Art, she's definitely drinking the Delulu lemonade. She's having a couple of sips of that, right? And it gets so much worse. Okay, we're only on page 2 of 10. And it's only 10 pages, but it's 10 pages of absolute riveting what the hell. Okay, so on March 9th of 2018, deputies served a search warrant because remember, they wanted to search, they wanted cadaver dogs to sniff, and she's like, get off my property. So they come back with a search warrant, okay, for cadaver dogs and ground penetrating radar at Sandy Pines Road in Claremont, the Shaver property. During the search, the skeletal remains of Michael Shaver were unearthed from 3 feet beneath the concrete slab or fire pit. Michael Shaver was clothed in socks, shorts, and underwear. Also removed from around his body was a tarp, a set of ratchet straps, and the remains of a fitted sheet. The tags indicate the sheet was queen-sized and purchased at Kohl's, a department store frequented by Laurie Shaver, as proven by her bank records. That's what I mean. It's like they find this queen-size sheet and then they just go to her bank records and they're like, damn, you shopped there a lot. I'm sure they would have found the receipt for the sheet. You know what I mean? Like, oh my goodness. Okay. So the remains were confirmed to be those of Michael Shaver by DNA. Michael Shaver's cause and manner of death is homicide by gunshot wound to the back of the head with a posterior to anterior trajectory, back to front. Okay, a single .38 caliber class projectile was recovered from Mr. Shaver's skull. Time of death was determined to be several months to several years prior to the discovery. During a second search warrant served on the Shaver home, Blue Star, which yields a presumptive detection of bloodstains hidden from the naked eye, indicated a positive reaction in the track of the sliding glass door leading from the dining area to the porch. The substance ran in a drip-like pattern down the outside of the trailer between the home and the porch. This substance, along with apparent hairs found in the same area, failed to demonstrate a sufficient amount of DNA for STR DNA analysis. Swabs from the interior lower door track of the sliding door demonstrated the presence of a mixture of DNA consistent with 3 donors, including Laurie Shaver, and 2 unrelated individuals, at least one of which is a male contributor. Michael Shaver could not be included or excluded as a contributor, unfortunately, right? Okay, so Donna Barry says, wasn't there a boyfriend before Travis? There were many boyfriends. Even before Travis, like this woman just from the bit I've read, I'm like, I can't even keep count. I don't know. She cheated a lot, okay, but she was extremely possessive over Michael. He was not allowed to have other girlfriends, okay? We're going to get to that. They're going to actually say some of that here. But she had many other boyfriends during the relationship, after they had separated and all of that. You know, so, okay. Kai's like, I love you, Grizzly. Get off my property. Okay, so it is believed that Michael Shaver was killed between November 7th of 2015, the last day that he was seen, and November 10th of 2015, the first day that he did not show up to work. And they said he was a very reliable employee. He would never just miss work. He would never just like not call in. So again, it seems like we see in many cases where the defendant, the alleged killer, underestimates the network that the victim has and their work ethic and just everything, right? Okay, so investigation revealed Michael Shaver's cell phone was last used to make an outgoing call on November 7th, 2015 at 5:48 p.m. Michael was also last seen in public with Laurie Shaver and their 2 children on November 7th of 2015 by co-worker Frank. I've redacted some of their surnames. I don't think I have to do that, but I'd rather do that just to protect the people in case they're not on the witness list. I'm still trying to find the witness list. Okay, if I can find it, I'll show it to you. I do have the link to the court site, and there's a voluminous amount of documents. So I haven't yet seen that. There's so much to work through, but let's start with this, right? So I'm just letting you know why their surnames are redacted. I just thought maybe, let me just protect them in case. Now I'm sure many of these people will take the stand, right? So they said their 2 children. So Michael was last seen in public with Laurie Shaver and their 2 children on November 7th, 2015 by co-worker Frank. Frank attended a tractor show with his wife and the Shavers and stated that Michael and Laurie did not appear to be getting along and left the event early to go home. Mr., the friend, texted Michael the next day, November 8th, and got no response. He then texted Michael on November 9th and received a response that he was quitting work to save his marriage. Michael did not report to work or call in on his next scheduled workday, November 10th, and was never seen again. Michael's boss, John, advised that Michael was a reliable employee, in line to become a foreman, and never missed work without calling in. On November 11th, Laurie sent a private, remember this is 2015, okay? Laurie sent a private message via a work server to Alicia, her sister, stating, Mike left yesterday, packed his stuff and went to the airport. Okay. On approximately November 12th, John texted Michael and received the response, I'm having issues at home. In Georgia right now. Just fire me or I'll quit. I will not be returning anytime soon. Frank went to the Shaver home on November 13th to check on him. Laurie told him that Michael left and went to Georgia after they got into a fight about another woman's number being in his phone. Frank asked Laurie how Michael had gotten to Georgia since his vehicle was at the Shaver home. And then she had to think quickly, right? So she says, because they're like, but his car is, it's right there. Okay, so what do you think she said? Of course, that he got picked up, right? Okay, so Laurie then claimed a friend, Robert, had picked Michael up and driven him to Georgia. Robert, when interviewed, denied ever driving Michael to Georgia. On Monday, November 16th of 2015, Laurie sent a private message via a work server to Alicia talking about her weekend, which would be her sister, which would have been November 14th to 15th, and told Alicia that she did tons of yard work and cleaned up outside. Oh my word. You see why I'd say a little bit, like I say Chad Daybell, because he's like, just gotta bury a raccoon quick, right? Okay. Beginning November 9th of 2015, friends and family of Michael Shaver, to include Robert, Frank, and his boss John, received texts and Facebook messages from Michael. These text messages were unlike Michael in tone. For example, telling his boss to go ahead and fire him because he wouldn't be coming back to work. Telling his boss and Frank to keep his personal tools, he wouldn't be picking them up from work. Telling Robert to leave me alone, don't bother me, when Robert was planning on spending Thanksgiving with the Shavers. Wow. In January of 2016, Christine, Michael's sister, received a Facebook message reply after reaching out to Michael that read in part, everyone just needs to leave me alone, just like they did my entire life. In September of 2016, Desiree, Michael's niece, sent a Facebook message to Michael and received the reply, who are you? Then, I don't have a family anymore. I have no clue who you are. Now stop messaging me. Michael's family points out that Laurie would not have recognized Desiree's maiden name. However, Michael obviously would have. Wow, okay. Is it? Okay, somebody says, I'm just checking. Don't worry, we are just checking a few things, okay? So, I just want to see, this is happening in Florida. So just stand by, we're on this paragraph 8. Okay, so after November 9th of 2015, Michael Shaver's debit card is never used again for any in-person or in-store purchases. On November 19th and again on November 23rd, 2015, 2 separate online purchases are made at wish.com using his debit card. It's also confirmed through Wish receipts that these purchases consisted of female lingerie and clothing items and were both shipped to Laurie Shaver at the Shaver residence, Sandy Pines Road, Clermont, Florida. Right, so she's like buying things with his cards now. It sounds like she's using his phone and Facebook accounts and then also his cards to buy herself stuff and sends it to the home, even though she's claiming that he's in Georgia, right? Okay then. On November 30th of 2015, a check for $2,539 was mailed from Mariner Finance in Leesburg, Florida to Michael Shaver at his home address. On December 11th of 2015, the back of the check was endorsed with an unreadable signature, Michael Shaver's social security number and cell phone number, accepting the terms of the loan. On December 14th of 2015, the check was deposited into Michael Shaver's Chase checking account via an ATM in Clermont. Between December 14th and December 30th of 2015, multiple ATM cash withdrawals were made from the account, along with online purchases and one payment to Sumter Electric Power Company, the power company used at the Shaver home. On December 15th of 2015, an online purchase was made at Walmart.com. See, people asked, is there Walmart? There it is. From this account for $424.54. The receipt for this order shows it was for children's items and was shipped to Laurie Shaver at Sandy Pines Road at their home, right? The withdrawals and purchases totaled over $2,000 and caused Michael Shaver's checking account to be overdrawn by December 30th of 2015. After a few more purchases and fees, the checking account remained overdrawn and was never used again. So this is what I'm saying. Ooh, the cell phone data. That's going to be epic at this trial. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the Google searches, the text messages, the social media accounts, the tone of the messages, and then obviously all the purchases, right? Okay. So let's quickly, we are on page 4 of 10. All right. So let's just keep going here. Do you mind seeing her here? Should I remove her? I don't want you. You must know what she looks like. So she's right there. Okay. Okay, so the receipt shows children's items. We saw that, and it was overdrawn and not used again. Okay, never used again. Prior to November 9th, Michael Shaver used his checking account almost exclusively by making debit purchases in person at stores. Thank you, Forrest Nelson. Afterwards, the purchases were online and ATM, all in Clermont or shipped to the Shaver residence, not in Georgia, where Laurie said Michael was located. According to Mariner Finance, no payments were ever made on the loan, and they never spoke to or saw Michael Shaver. All attempts by Mariner Finance to contact Michael Shaver to collect on the loan for the next 3 years met with negative results. The investigation has revealed no indication that any adult other than Laurie Shaver lived at the Shaver home, where the Mariner Finance check and 3 internet orders were mailed to her name during the November to December 2015 timeframe. The person who made the deposit and withdrawals would need to have the ability to intercept Michael Shaver's mail from his secure community mailbox, have access to his social security number, his ATM card for 2 weeks, his PIN number, and have the knowledge that Michael Shaver would not be around to notice the fraudulent deposit, multiple withdrawals, or packages being shipped to his residence. She went shopping. She shopped a lot. Okay. So by the beginning of December 2015, Laurie Shaver was selling and attempting to sell Michael Shaver's firearms, tools with which he made his living, vehicle, home, and property, and other possessions. It's almost like Dale Warner trying to sell off D's stuff, right? Remember that? Joseph, the owner of JB Guns in Bushnell, Florida, overheard her attempting to sell multiple guns and selling one gun to the owner of Outrageous Audio in Mineola, Florida on approximately 12/5/15. Mr. B offered to purchase the remaining firearms and responded to Laurie Shaver's home on approximately December 6th or 7th of 2015. So she's literally trying to sell off everything. Now, a lot of you are saying the opening statements are starting. Don't worry, we will get to it, okay? Shh. We're just going to focus here now. We're going to read this PCA. I then want to show you a crazy clip. And then maybe we'll switch to the opening statements. We shall see, okay? Anna Brown, thank you so much. So we're on page 5 out of 10. So they say Mr. B offered to purchase the remaining firearms and responded to Laurie Shaver's home on approximately December 6th or 7th of 2015 to meet with her and make the purchase. There, he purchased 9 firearms, including 2 .38 caliber revolvers, reload equipment, and firearm cleaning supplies for $1,000 from Laurie Shaver. Laurie was alone in her home and told Mr. B that the firearms had belonged to her husband, but that he had left, and she hadn't seen or heard from him and didn't know where he was. Oh my word. To some, she's saying he's in Georgia. To others, she's like, I have no idea where he is. So she considered the items hers now and was going to sell them. Mr. B thinks that she said that her husband had been gone a couple of months. Laurie told Mr. B her husband was an aircraft mechanic, and she had sold his aircraft mechanic tools the previous day for $1,000, which I think it would be worth way more than that, right? Yeah, Jill and Brian says, we come for the G defluffing. Absolutely, we're going to be defluffing this trial. So, wow, so today they would have picked the jury and they're just going for it with opening statements already. Okay, so we'll get there. Don't worry. Don't panic, everyone. So now, Laurie offered to sell Mr. B her husband's Ford vehicle, which was in the yard, without the title, and offered to sell his tractor. She also said the house and property were for sale. She's like selling off everything. She's like, you want his car? Do you want the firearms? How about the car? You want to buy the house? Yeah, I'm selling everything. And he's just like, that must have felt so weird because he's like, what the hell is going on here? Chrissy P, thank you for being a member for 14 months. You say, finally made it live. Hello, Grizzlies. Much love to Super G. Thank you all for being here to study this crazy case with me. Oh my goodness. So they say Laurie offered to sell Mr. B her husband's Ford vehicle, which was in the yard without the title, and offered to sell his tractor. She also said the house and property were for sale for $150,000. Mr. B thought it was unusual that a man would leave all his possessions behind, including several firearms and expensive work tools. In March of 2018, when Mr. B saw Laurie Shaver and the Shaver property on the news, he recognized Laurie as the woman that he purchased the firearms from. I wonder if he'll testify. And recognized the property and trailer as the location that he met Laurie Shaver at to purchase the firearms from her. From November 7th of 2015 until Michael's body was discovered, Laurie Shaver continued to tell friends and family that she saw and spoke to Michael Shaver and that he was stalking her. Like, that one really got me. I'm like, so your husband is buried under this fire pit that you now built, right? But you're telling everyone that he's stalking you? That's like next level. That's why I'm like, ooh, I probably sound very biased because I'm like, that's next level. Like, why would you do that? Not only impersonating him on social media, allegedly, but also you're going to tell people that he's stalking you when he's dead and buried in your yard. That's crazy. My goodness. Okay, so on December 3rd of 2015, she sent a private message to a supervisor, Ramin, through a work server, claiming that she had been getting child support, but now Michael was in jail for non-payment after losing his job. Whoa. That victim shaming is just like, oh, he's in jail after losing his job. What? Laurie at different times claimed that Michael was in Georgia, New York, and California. She said that Michael left her and the kids to start a new life. Laurie told her boyfriend Travis that she was divorced and married him even though her marriage to Michael was still valid. When questioned by her sister-in-law, Rebecca, about her divorce, she stated it was final and that Michael was at the courthouse with her for the hearing in a separate room. She told Travis's mother, Kendall, that Michael was a pilot, which is why he's never around. She had different reasons, right, why he was never around. You can gather that. Oh my goodness. Lobi, thank you so much. Laurie told her best friend, Katina, in 2017 about an incident where Michael had followed her and she had to pull over and allow law enforcement to search her truck and cell phone for 2 weeks looking for trackers installed by Michael. Laurie told Katina it was the Lake County Sheriff's Office in Clermont that had her truck and cell phone for 2 weeks. Though Laurie told friends that she was being stalked by Michael, no record has ever been found of her ever reporting any of these incidents to law enforcement. Laurie never attempted to file for child support from Michael for their 2 children. Laurie never reported Michael missing. There is a $208.90 charge on Michael's Capital One credit card a few weeks after his disappearance at mydivorcepapers.com. However, there's no record that either Michael nor Laurie ever filed for a divorce. No person other than Laurie Shaver ever saw or verbally spoke to Michael Shaver at any point from November 7th, 2015 onward, to include his parents, siblings, friends, neighbors, and co-workers. Investigation revealed no indication that Michael existed anywhere after November 7th of 2015. And yet she's claiming that he's stalking her. Wow, that is just, my goodness. So, Laurie Shaver informed Michael's boss to dispose of his tools at work. She also sold some of Michael's possessions in the months after his disappearance. Laurie allowed Michael's car to be repossessed from their property by February of 2016, after her attempts to sell it with no title failed. Laurie never called Michael's cell phone after November 3rd of 2015. Prior to that, she called him multiple times per week. It is believed the fire pit was constructed in March of 2016. Remember, the murder would have happened in November, between November 7th and 10th of 2015, okay? And the concrete slab was poured in September of 2016 at a location on the 5-acre property chosen by Laurie, with her and Travis's initials over the area of Michael's body. Like, there's so many things in this case that my jaw just falls to the freaking floor. Like, so you had this new guy, and then I don't know what to say, you married him, you with him, okay? And then you, together with him, you building this fire pit, but your husband's, like, body is buried there. I don't think Travis knew that, right? He's just like, what the hell is she saying? Okay, so there's this fire pit, and then you're going to put your initials in the concrete. Oh, my word. This lady, wow, over the area of Michael's body. 2 photos and a post to Laurie Shaver's Facebook dated 3/24/16 show the fire pit being built, along with a statement in part, newest project built this fire pit today and now just need to pour in concrete. Like, she even took photos of this, showing her progress of building this fire pit in the yard. Like, she's bragging about it on Facebook. Like, look at me, I'm about to build this fire pit. Yeah, Stephanie's like, her and her new boyfriend's initials? Yes. Her and her new boyfriend's initials, as if she's writing it in the sand on the beach, but meanwhile it's in concrete over her husband's dead body, literally. It's unbelievable what they're saying in this PCA, right? So these 2 photos, the one says newest project, built this fire pit today, now just need to pour in concrete. A photo and a post to Laurie Shaver's Facebook page dated 4/28/16 shows bags of concrete mix, at least 14 visible in the photograph, stacked in the back of a pickup truck. A comment by Laurie Leigh Shaver states, cement. It's going in the area around the fire pit I built. Oh my word. The concrete slab, which was poured over Michael's grave, is known through a witness statement. Rebecca, Laurie's sister-in-law, to have been poured by Laurie and her boyfriend Travis in the summer of 2016. Travis told detectives that he and Laurie rented a cement mixer from Home Depot for the project. Laurie Shaver and Travis joint bank records, Sun Trust checking, show a $290 purchase at Lowe's that posted on 9/13/16, which was confirmed through receipts to include 42 bags of concrete mix. The same bank account shows a charge of $75 at Home Depot, which was confirmed through receipts to be for the rental of a large electric cement mixer on 9/12/16. The cement mixer was rented by Travis. Travis's name, address, and the last 4 numbers of his Florida driver's license are recorded on the rental receipt. Travis told detectives the hole, when he saw it in 2016, was only 3 to 4 inches deep. That's inches, right? I don't work in those measurements, but yes, okay, is it feet? Is it feet? It's feet, right? 3 to 4 feet deep when they filled it with concrete, okay? Wow, he thought it was odd that the dirt pile on the edge of the property that Laurie said came from the hole was much too large to have come from a hole only 3 to 4 feet deep. Correct. A photograph on Laurie Shaver's Facebook dated, I can't believe the things that she is accused of doing. This, bragging on Facebook, then writing her initials in there with her boyfriend's initials while her husband's body is buried right there. I think that's so crazy. Oh my goodness. Okay. A photograph on Laurie Shaver's Facebook dated on 2/27/17 shows the concrete slab in place. The presence of the concrete slab is confirmed by Google Earth satellite imagery by March of 2017, though Laurie continued to report seeing and speaking with Michael after this date. Oh my goodness. Okay. For several months after Michael's disappearance, friends and family received text messages from his cell phone and private messages from his Facebook account. A friend, Katina, told detectives that she saw what she believed to be Michael's cell phone, along with his clothing and other personal belongings, inside the Shaver home not long after his disappearance in November of 2015. 3 days after Michael's body was discovered, but prior to being positively identified by DNA, a postcard with his photograph was mailed from Orlando to Laurie with a handwritten message, "Tell the kids I love them. See you soon, Mike." The lengths that she will go to, right? Wow. Okay. So, sending a postcard from him, pretending to be him. Michael's Facebook page was updated more than once and as late as January 2nd of 2018. Often utilizing the same IP address. Those IP addresses are so it's gonna bust her, right? Okay, steel guitar. So G features 1 quote, inches as 2. So that's inches, 3 to 4 inches? 3 to 4 inches, that's it? Okay. So, same IP address as Laurie Shaver's Facebook page updates. Jeremy was interviewed and stated that he began dating Laurie Shaver in approximately September of 2015. Another guy, right? After she told him that she had left her husband. The first time that Jeremy came to Laurie's home in approximately December, he noticed what he thought was blood stains on the thigh of her jeans. He asked her if that was blood on her jeans. But this was in September, October, November. He died in November. So, okay. Laurie changed the jeans and never wore them again. Jeremy remarked that prior to that, Laurie wore those jeans 3 times per week, but he never saw them again. Beginning in February of 2016 and for several months, Jeremy's wife, Vanessa, received Facebook messages from Michael Shaver's account. Are you following, guys? Because it's escalating. With every page I read, this it gets crazier and crazier. This is a different boyfriend now, okay? Jeremy's married, okay? So, Jeremy's wife received Facebook messages from Michael Shaver's account and then text messages from someone claiming to be Michael. The Facebook messages went unread until April when she received a flower delivery at work with a message, "Roses are red, violets are blue. My wife is a whore, your husband is too. Sorry about this. Check your Facebook message. We need to talk. Mike." Mike Shaver told Vanessa via Facebook Messenger, and they say Mike Shaver like this, via Facebook Messenger and cell phone text, he had installed a spy app on Laurie's cell phone and captured text messages and explicit photographs sent between their spouses, which he shared with Vanessa. These messages and photographs were solely intended to notify Vanessa of the affair between Jeremy and Laurie to encourage Vanessa to leave him. Think about how crazy that is. She's sending flowers to this boyfriend's wife, pretending to be Laurie's husband, okay, saying, "Our spouses are cheating on us, you should leave yours," all because she wanted this guy to herself. Wow. Okay. Now she talks about the spy app and everything, right? These messages and photographs were solely intended to notify Vanessa of the affair between Jeremy and Laurie to encourage Vanessa to leave Jeremy. At one point, when Vanessa spoke about staying with Jeremy, Mike insinuated that he thought that Laurie might have been pregnant by Jeremy. Mike, again, Mike like this, right? Pretending to be Mike. Mike also gave Vanessa the name of a good divorce attorney. Vanessa confronted Jeremy with the evidence of the affair, which he admitted. In April of 2016, Jeremy broke off the affair with Laurie and repaired his relationship with his wife. Jeremy also described a tattoo that Laurie got of his nickname, J, in a heart over her vagina, which caused him to think that Laurie felt more serious about their relationship than he did, which he always considered purely sexual. So to him, they're having this hot affair, and to her, she's like possessing him. She's like, "I will tattoo your initials, your name in a heart down there." Like, what? He was like, that's a little excessive. It's a little bit much there, but okay. So, which he always considered purely sexual. Mr. and Mrs. Townsend are cooperative with the investigation and provided the card and envelope from the flower delivery along with over 600 pages of text messages, Facebook messages, and photographs between Mike Shaver and Vanessa, all which began 3 months after Michael's disappearance. The messages show that between the 23rd of Feb of 2016 and the 26th of Feb 2016, Laurie confronted Jeremy via text, asking why he's wearing his wedding ring again. Of course, it's his wife, but okay. Why are you wearing your wedding ring? How dare you cheat on me with your wife? She's so crazy. Oh my goodness. Okay, so accusing him of lying to her about his whereabouts, not moving forward with his divorce, and asking if he was in love with her, presumably referring to his wife. The first time that Mike Shaver, the pretend Mike Shaver shaman, my word, she was just pretending to be, contacted Vanessa to speak to her about their spouse's affair was on the 25th of Feb of 2016, during the time frame of this argument between Laurie and Jeremy. The same Facebook messages have also been recovered from Facebook Incorporated pursuant to a search warrant. The cell phone number used by Mike Shaver to text Vanessa from 4/11/16 until 4/21/16 is not Michael's known cell phone number, but rather a number that was only active from 4/16/16 until 4/6/16 until 4/16/16. Okay, so April, right? The 6th to the 16th, of which the sole subscriber was Laurie Shaver. The flower arrangement sent to Vanessa from Mike in April 2016 was purchased on Laurie Shaver's BB&T checking account from You Flowers, posted on 4/7/16 for $42.98. The invoice for the flowers shows Mike Shaver's name, along with the exact message and purchase amount of $42.98. Order confirmation shows the order was delivered to Vanessa at her work address on 4/11/16 and signed for by Mrs. T. A confirmation email would have been sent to the email address provided right after the order was placed at 3:53 hours on 4/5/16 and right after the order was delivered, which was at 14:39 hours. One of the early Facebook messages from Mike Shaver to Vanessa was sent on 4/11/16 at 3:18, the day the flowers would be delivered at 11 o'clock, and states, "Your special delivery is to arrive today. Hope to finally hear back from you." Flower arrangement emoji, indicating the person who was sending messages to Vanessa on the Mike Shaver Facebook page is the same person who used Laurie Shaver's bank account to purchase and send flowers to Vanessa. Do we think that she's going to try to explain that away? Probably. Someone did it. Someone else. It wasn't me. Like, okay. Review and comparison of the Internet Protocol IP addresses listed in Facebook activity logs for the Facebook accounts associated with Michael Shaver and Laurie Shaver show 13 IP addresses that are identical on both accounts, indicating the devices used for Facebook activity on both accounts were on the same network. A friend of the Shavers, Mary, showed detectives a message between herself and Michael that read, "Michael, she wants my life insurance," referring to Laurie Shaver. Mary, "She's got to kill you first." Michael, "She tried yesterday, I'm sure." Mary was unable to remember the exact date of the text due to it being saved on an old phone, but stated it was 2014 or 2015. So that's when he was still alive. He was telling his friend, okay, that Laurie wants my life insurance. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Stefan's like, she probably got hacked. I want to hear her explain this, especially on the stand. And then, how did this all happen? From the same IP addresses. Oh my goodness. So, wow. He said I think she tried to yesterday, I'm sure. Okay. So this says she further advised Michael, told her that Laurie would take over his means of communication. For example, pretend to be him on his Facebook and text messages. Janet says, and thank you, Janet, for being a member for 23 months. A true nutbutt. Yep. Nut butt. We learned that word from criminal profiler John Kelly. Yes, this one is a true nutbutt, right? Can you imagine? Now, Corey, and you guys say, just look at this. Wait. Somebody said, where's it? Kelly, can you imagine being her attorney? Oh, wow, that's a whole lot of evidence to overcome. Even worse than Sarah Boone recorded videos. And wait till I show you the clip right after this of her defense attorney and her trying to raise funds and proclaiming her innocence. It's quite a crazy video uploaded to YouTube on her YouTube account, I think it is. Okay, so Corey, a co-worker of Michael's, reported that Michael came to work approximately 3 to 4 months prior to his disappearance with several bruises, face, chest, and arms. Michael stated that Laurie had gotten irate and blew up about something, Michael didn't say what, and began punching him with her closed fists. When asked why he didn't at least fight back to defend himself, Michael said that he didn't because it wasn't worth it. Corey worked with Michael for approximately 1 year and recalls one other story Michael told him in which he said that Laurie got mad and threw something at him, missed, and the item went through the kitchen window. So, based on these stories, she's the aggressor, but she's claiming to be the victim of domestic violence. Kendall D, so classic Darvo, right? Deny, attack, reverse, victim, offender, Darvo. A lot of domestic violence aggressors do that. Now, I'm just speculating, okay? Allegedly, again, she's innocent until proven guilty. Okay, Kendall dated Michael Shaver from approximately November 2014 until May 2015. Kendall and Michael met at Disney where they both worked. During this time frame, Michael lived in an airplane hangar and was separated from Laurie, who was also dating someone. So they had separated. All this crazy behavior, they had separated. Now, Kendall stated that Laurie told Michael he was not allowed to date anyone, although Laurie was. Got those double standards in there. Kendall witnessed Laurie on the phone telling Michael that he would never see his kids again and would seem to use the children as a pawn to get what she wanted. During Kendall and Michael's brief relationship, Laurie Shaver constantly sent Facebook messages to Kendall, harassing her to leave Michael, threatening to expose Kendall to her family as a homewrecker, and personally insulting her. Wow. Laurie's saying like, homewrecker, but she's like dating all these other married men. Quite a few. I've heard a lot of names already. Here we've heard two, but like I've heard quite a few just in video clips I've watched and just things I'm reading. I'm like, how many we got there? And they all seem to be married. So she's telling this woman, you homewrecker, even though they are separated at this point. Ether Bunny says there are so many crazy and evil people, right? We study a lot of them here. Grizzly true crime, right? Oh my goodness. This one even reminds me a little bit of that Aliyah Bulaban, huh? Like double standards. Like, you may not cheat, but I can. Or you may not move on with anyone else, but I can, right? So thank you, Ether Bunny. Okay, so now Laurie was harassing this new girlfriend of Michael's, okay? So threatening to expose Kendall to her family as a homewrecker and personally insulting her. Laurie specifically mentioned the name of Kendall's grandmother. Laurie called Kendall's mother in another state at 3 a.m. asking for Kendall. In April of 2015, Laurie called Disney Human Resources, HR, and filed a complaint on Kendall using photographs from Kendall's Facebook page. Laurie created 2 fake Facebook pages and sent friend requests to Kendall. Kendall recalled that whenever Michael would stay at Kendall's home after work, he would go to the hangar first to make sure that Laurie wasn't following him. One time, in approximately February or March of 2015, Michael called and told Kendall to park in a different lot than usual for work because Laurie was on her way to Disney with a gun. Shame. Michael's telling this girlfriend, like, look, man, you got to go park somewhere else because Laurie's on her way over here with a gun. Michael did not explain further, and they never spoke of the incident again. Kendall broke off her relationship with Michael in May of 2015 because of all the harassment from Laurie and the fear of losing her job if she complained again. Kendall advised their breakup was amicable, and she had no relationship problems with Michael, only issues created by Laurie. After hearing in November 2015 from Corey that no one could find Michael, Kendall sent him a Facebook message and noticed that his Facebook said that he was living in Afghanistan. Michael responded back, I left. Kendall asked, what about his kids? And Michael never responded to her again. Wow, okay. Steel Guitar said, gee, you sure know how to pick him. I know, right? Actually, you guys know how to pick him. Like a lot of Grizzlies that sent me this. I haven't had a chance to really look at this because we were so busy deep diving, of course, the Madeline Soto case, and we still continue with that. It's just like, okay, let me look at this. I had a chance. Yesterday I had a chance, right? And then I'm like, what? No, we have to get all the documents. And then today I'm just reading all of this and watching all the clips I can and seeing everything. I'm like, what? This is crazy. So thank you to everyone who emailed this to me. Yeah, you guys know how to pick him. So Laurie Shaver was known to keep a pink .38 caliber handgun on her nightstand. On September 4th of 2014, we're almost on the last page here. Okay, she retrieved this revolver from her nightstand and used it during the domestic violence incident in which she hit Michael in the head with the gun, causing a laceration. Michael was arrested for simple battery domestic. I feel really sorry for Michael in these scenarios. You know, she hits him with a gun, causing a laceration, and he gets arrested. Laurie's handgun was taken into evidence and released to her on June 1st of 2015. Michael's handgun was taken and released to him on the same day. On New Year's Eve of 2016-2017, Rebecca stated that Laurie became upset on her wedding night with Travis, locked herself in her bedroom, then pulled a gun and had to be talked down by a family member. In approximately October of 2017, Laurie sold a pink .38 caliber handgun to a neighbor, Robert, who later turned it over to the LCSO. The handgun has been forensically compared to the .38 caliber class projectile recovered from Michael Shaver's skull and was unable to be included or excluded as being the weapon that killed Mr. Shaver. Of course, she sold 2 others, right? Robert reported that in September of 2014, when he drove Michael home to gather his belongings after his arrest, Laurie became angry at Michael and threw a handgun at Michael. Frank advised LCSO that his .38 caliber revolver was in the possession of Michael Shaver during the November 2015 timeframe, as Michael was supposed to be rebuilding the gun for Mr. M. After Michael's disappearance, Laurie Shaver returned the handgun to Mr. M, which was Frank, along with the 2 .38 caliber handguns Mrs. Shaver sold to Joseph in December of 2015. She had access to 4 .38 caliber handguns during the time frame of Michael Shaver's homicide. Laurie Shaver was the last person to be seen with Michael Shaver and the only other adult occupant of the property where his body was buried. Days after he was last seen, Laurie lied about Michael going to Georgia with a friend. Laurie Shaver constructed the fire pit and poured the concrete on her 5-acre property exactly over Michael's grave. Wow. Laurie lied to family and law enforcement about Michael's whereabouts and claimed to have seen him and communicated with him well after his disappearance and after the concrete slab was poured over his body. Laurie gave away, sold, or attempted to sell many of Michael's belongings within a month of his disappearance. Laurie drained Michael's bank account within the month after his disappearance after making a fraudulent loan deposit in his name. Laurie had access to 4 .38 caliber handguns at the time of Michael's homicide. Laurie told her boyfriend Michael wasn't missing, he was no longer walking this earth, and that there was a body on the property. Laurie claimed to have seen and talked to Michael and assumed his identity on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, and in text in order to convince family that he was still alive, a ruse which would not benefit her in any way other than prolonging the discovery of his homicide. Your affiant believes that the probable cause exists for the arrest of Laurie Leigh Shaver for the homicide of second degree and accessory after the fact to homicide second degree. Now, I showed you this earlier, but just look at this, okay? I'm going to just take this woman's face off for a second here. They say this, motion for reconsideration, and this was from 5/8/2023, okay? But as part of her defense, they say that defense counsel presented a motion to the court on May 4th of 2023, having received testimony from a minor child who confessed to having committed the respective murder in this matter. A ruling was made by the court and the state directed to present an order. The defense has moved within the limits to request reconsideration. That, as a consequence and for the benefit of the minor child, Judge G. Richard Singletary appointed counsel Kelly Johnson as an attorney ad litem on behalf of the minor child. That the minor child has met with Kelly Johnson on multiple occasions and represented her desire to testify in the case, or in the cause. At all times, the minor has been apprised of her rights that she would be waiving and the possibility of penalties that she'd be facing. Nonetheless, the child has persisted in seeking to testify. I really worry about what has Laurie told this child. She's 14 years old now and insisting the truth needs to come out. I'm the one who pulled the trigger, and she was 7 at the time, okay? And Janet's like, the dog did it. 7. Now she's 14 and saying, no, I'll testify. Me, I did it. It's definitely me. I was trying to protect my mom from this domestic abuser. Wow, that sounds pretty scary, right? That is how that is going. So here as well, on March 9th, they say deputies served a search warrant for a cadaver dog and ground-penetrating radar at the property of the defendant and the decedent. During the search, the skeletal remains of the decedent were unearthed approximately 3 feet beneath a concrete slab or fire pit. So the cause and manner of death was homicide by a gunshot wound to the back of the head with a single .38 caliber projectile. Execution style, right? The defendant's current defense, as articulated in the defendant's notice, is that either the defendant or her minor, that's her defense, either her or her minor, the 7-year-old girl then who's now 14, shot the decedent while trying to defend themselves or each other during an incident of domestic violence. Yeah, Barbara Jean is like coercion, right? Okay, so Cindy said, when does this crazy case start? Right now. It's starting right now. Today was jury selection, and I was anticipating the opening statements for tomorrow, but actually opening statements have just started, so we're going to get there. Okay, I just quickly want to show you a clip. I was just quickly finishing some of the documents here. Let's just see, do I have something here to show you? I don't think so. These are some of the ones that I picked for today. Did you see motion to compel? Okay, no, everything, we've gone over everything we want to now. So what I want to quickly show you here is this clip from 3 years ago, March 2nd of 2021. It was posted on Laurie Filmer's YouTube channel. She's got 19 subscribers. Don't you dare subscribe, Grizzlies. I wouldn't ordinarily say that, but are you going to subscribe to Laurie? Well, go ahead if you want to. Okay, and it's so crazy because in the description box, let me show you like this. It says, okay, sorry, I have to resize it for you. We are going to win this case, but we are going to win it with you. We need your supporting voice and donations to help prove my innocence and to keep my family together. Please show your support at any and all of my I'm Innocent pages. And then she links them all, okay? So just have a look at this. You will not believe this video, okay? I was just quite shocked. She did all of that we just read, allegedly. And then there's this video, which I'm going to play at 1.1 speed. Then I'll be looking for where are these opening statements? And then we'll go to that, okay? So just hold on. Let's play this. Look at it, look at it.
Good morning, I'm Jeffrey Wiggs. I'm an
This is her attorney, guys. This is her defense attorney at the trial, okay?
attorney, criminal attorney here in Lake County, Florida. Sitting to my left is Laurie, a client of mine. Laurie, regrettably, is charged with the most onerous crime that any individual could be faced with in their lifetime. Laurie is charged with the crime of murder. This incident stemmed from a relationship, having been married to her first husband, Michael. Now, Michael and Laurie got married when they got out of high school, and this was a young marriage between the two of them. Laurie was the victim of repeated physical violence by Michael. This went on for a period of years. It involved the state attorney's office, involved obtaining injunctions for.
Let's hope she doesn't strike my channel for this one. Oh my goodness. So, okay, we're playing this. We're making some commentary. That's why I got a pause in between. All right, fair use. So you see this here is her attorney. He's going to talk for a little while, and then she's actually going to talk to the camera as well. All right. So I've just never seen anything like this. I'm like, wow. After that PCA and then this video, I'm like, oh my goodness.
The protection of Laurie, it involved the Department of Children and Families being called into the residence. Michael was removed from the residence, and at that point, or some point thereafter, Laurie started seeing somebody else. We're not going to mention his name, but he's the subject of this action. This relationship came upon Laurie by Laurie dropping the children off at school, and this same individual observing bruising and injuries to Laurie. He confronted Laurie, and we don't know to this day, or to some extent, we'll find out though, but he proclaimed he had been in the special forces, he had been appointed to protect President Bush, and that he had the special ability to protect Laurie from Michael Shaver. He even advised Laurie that he had the ability and the knowledge and the special skills to kill somebody, and that nobody else would ever see it, know it, or be able to pin it on him in any fashion. Michael being out of the house, Laurie had a relationship with this same individual. This same individual became close to Laurie, and during their relationship, Michael was gone. Michael was out of the house. He had disappeared through some means of which we suspect we have the answer to. Anyway, this same individual, this mystery man, advised Laurie that she needed to create a sitting patio in her backyard, told her how much concrete she would need, told her where to put it, and even assisted her in purchasing the concrete.
Who they gonna blame now? This mystery man is telling her to build that fire pit and what? Carve the initials into it? Mm-hmm.
Well, later these two individuals broke up. This individual went back to his first wife, and later on Laurie began to date somebody else. Well, they had concrete sitting there, and her and this individual who she's now married to, Travis, built this patio. Unbeknownst to Laurie, underneath the patio laid Michael Shaver. Later in time, law enforcement approached her, having received some word or advice or suspicion that a crime had been committed. Now, we don't know who exactly told law enforcement, but we'll find out about that. And underneath the patio lay Michael Shaver. Now, when law enforcement confronted Laurie, Laurie wisely said, "I want to talk to an attorney."
I mean, yes, but also like what? She was very wise. Is this other boyfriend? Okay, there was one boyfriend. He went back to his wife. Then there was this other boyfriend who helped her finish the project. Oh, like right there. Over where Michael was buried, huh? Well, when law enforcement came, wisely, she's like, nope, nope, nope. I have to speak to my attorney. Get off my property.
I don't want to speak with y'all unless I first speak with an attorney. Thus, she came to me. I haven't interviewed Laurie. I understood what had happened and confronted law enforcement, telling them things that I had discovered, what I knew about the case, who we suspected had committed this crime. Law enforcement evidently turned a blind eye on this, and sometime later eventually arrested or did arrest Laurie for the crime. Now, there's no forensic evidence that ties Laurie to this crime, let alone any other crime. There's no gun, there's no ballistical evidence, no chemical evidence, no evidence of any other matter that they can link Laurie to this particular crime of murder.
Just, financial evidence, cell phone data, IP addresses, pretending to be him, saying you're stalking her, all those things. That's going to be coming up, right?
Murder. We had a bond hearing, and at that bond hearing, I cross-examined law enforcement, and I spoke to him and I said, didn't we direct your attention to a particular individual? Didn't we direct your attention to an individual that proclaimed he had these special skills? Did you investigate it?
We're almost there. This video is 13 minutes long, okay? Then we're going to go to the real opening statements. Janet's like, are these opening statements? They sure sound like it. They sure sound like it. This is not a funny situation. This trial and case, it's devastating, right, for Michael. But what Laurie's claiming and what her attorney's doing and everything isn't it quite ridiculous? I can't help but laugh sometimes. I'm just like, what? Like, what is this case? What is happening? And she's just sitting there like, She's got that, she's got a pouty face on right now. She's like, yeah, I'm very, very innocent. She is innocent until proven guilty, okay? But you know what I mean. She's sitting there like, You'll see now.
Their response was, well, we spoke to him. He was cooperative, so we dismissed him really early. And because Laurie was closest to the body, she was the one that was arrested in this case. Now, you need to think about that. What Laurie did was exercise a constitutional right, that constitutional right to remain silent. And through the exercise of that right, that's why she's charged today in Lake County for the crime of murder, the most serious offense that...
Yes, she's charged because she kept quiet, everyone. That's why. That's the only reason that there's that long 10-page riveting probable cause affidavit, is just because she remained silent.
Any individual could be charged with. She is presently looking at a life in sentence, the mother of 4 children, and she has nowhere to turn, nobody to look to, nobody to turn to seek any kind of financial assistance in this case. I've come on this case. Have been willing to do as much as I can for Laurie, but I've expressed to her, Laurie, I cannot finance your litigation. We have to do what we can and look to somebody or any individual that may contribute to your cause. Thus, we've raised this issue here today, seeking financial assistance from anybody and everybody willing to contribute whatever they can to the defense of Laurie. We're asking for your kind contributions and assistance, and I can assure you,
I can assure you, okay? Send us your money.
Interviewed Laurie, having looked at the discovery that's been provided me to this state, there is no evidence against Laurie Shaver upon which the state can seek a verdict of guilty. So bare is it, law enforcement even is aware of the fact. What they have done is to even have the court issue a warrant for Laurie Shaver. What they did is they falsified a probable cause affidavit. They put verbiage in there that her current husband had told them that Laurie made a statement implicating herself. That statement was that a communication transpired between her and her husband, whereupon Laurie allegedly said to him, well, let me put it this way, Michael's just not walking this earth at this time. I confronted that individual, Travis Filmer. Travis Filmer has executed an affidavit declaring he never made this statement. That affidavit was submitted at the bond hearing before Judge Singletary. Now, we're asking y'all to contribute in this matter and recognize that sometimes and oftentimes people are prosecuted for political reasons, and that's what's at stake at this case. We're asking for your aid and assistance in the most liberal way in which you can. We're going to provide you some information in this link where it'll tell you where to contribute.
And there's lots of links in the description box, but Debbie says, did they raise any money? Apparently not. I couldn't see how much it was, but apparently people complained so much that the GoFundMe links and all the financial links were shut down very quickly.
And where you may donate to this cause, and we appreciate those contributions. Is there anything you need to say or want to say, Laurie, at this time?
My name is Laurie Filmer, also known as Laurie Shaver, and as my attorney, Mr. Wiggs, has just stated, he is representing me for the charges of second-degree murder of my ex-husband, Michael Shaver. I'm coming before you guys today just to let you know that we have our suspicions, but I don't know why I've been targeted, why I've been set up, or charged with this heinous crime. I am not guilty. And anybody that knows me knows that my life is my children. I am a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a neighbor, I'm a servant of God, I'm a wife, and I am a devoted mother of 4. My life is my children. The well-being of my children has and always will be my top priority. And that is the reason that I would never cause any harm to the father of my children. And I know that there's people out there that are trying to paint this picture of me, but that's not me. I'm loving, I'm caring, I have a servitude heart. I don't judge people. I accept all, and I always try to see the good in everybody.
Doesn't sound like it by the text messages you sent to Michael's girlfriend when you two were separated. Also, I'm judging. Okay, I'm judging her big time. She's like, I was targeted. All right. I don't know why I've been charged with this. And she said ex-husband, but they weren't divorced. He was killed. You know? Wow. Okay. She had 2 children with Michael, and then I think she had the 2 children with Travis, the new guy, after Michael was buried in the backyard.
And right now, I am up against something that I would have never imagined possible. And so today, I'm coming to you. My family and I are begging you, asking for your assistance to help prove my innocence in this case. Without you, we don't have the financial means to pay for my attorney's fees.
We still have 3 minutes to go, and it's like, cue the music. The gentle, manipulative music is now coming in, if you can hear it, okay? I'm not playing it. It's from the video, okay? Just so you know. Okay.
But I can tell you that I am not guilty. I had nothing to do with the murder of Michael Shaver, nor did I have any knowledge of his body being buried under where we were building a gathering place, a conversational.
A 5-acre property, and you just so happen to build a fire pit and brag about it on Facebook right where his body was. Like, right over his body. I mean, okay.
Fire pit area for our family and friends to spend time together at.
Just in closing, I would like to make a statement regarding attorneys fees, what we're up against. Criminal attorneys are not in that caliber of attorneys that make boatloads of money, okay? That's personal injury attorneys, guys that really have insurance companies to go after. And unfortunately, criminal attorneys rely on people oftentimes with very little funds.
What the hell is going on here? Those personal injury attorneys, Tragos. He's the one making the money. This guy isn't making anything. This guy needs our money to help with this innocent client, okay? Look, man, I know she's innocent until proven guilty, but it's just, I've never seen anything like this. Have you? You guys are like true crime addicts. Tiny, tiny violence. I see the violence are coming out. Wow, yeah, and he just like fake cry. That was not very believable, was it? I can't wait to see her on the stand. I think she might take the stand. He was interviewed by who? Which one? I think it was, yes, by Julie Grant on Court TV recently. There's a clip out there. And the way he talks is as if she's going to take the stand. I'm like, she probably will. So everybody, prepare yourself for that day.
This case is probably going to take about 2 years to complete, start to finish. There's going to be a lot of discovery, probably about 50 depositions involved in it, and tons of legal research and motions. That we're going to win this case, but we're going to win it with y'all. If you can contribute to this case, I can assure you we're going to get Laurie out of this mess. So we're asking that you reach into your pocket, do what you can, and help us through this. Thank you very much.
Reach in your pocket and do what you can. Sorry, I can't help it. It's funny to you too, right? I'm like, what? Just reach in your pocket and do what you can, okay? Donate now. Get this innocent woman out of here. Again, she's been free this whole time, charged, but she already posted bond, a $50,000 bond. Wasn't very high. Like, she was arrested and then barely spent, I think it was like 2 days or something in jail. Out, been staying at home, okay? So, Okay, I'm going to take that off because I don't show pictures of kids on here. She's just got a lot of pictures of the kids after that. Just for extra manipulation, of course. I will link that video for you if you ever want to watch it again. Now, what I'm going to do, let me quickly go find the trial for us. I mean, damn, they're just starting. What time is it? The Eastern time? It's almost 5 p.m. Wow, okay. Stand by, everyone. Now we're going to go watch opening statements. Let's just see when it even starts. Do they just start it? They just go for it? What? Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. Let's boost it. Go like this. Okay. Law and crime. Thankfully, they're covering it. Court TV's covering it. Law and crime. There's a whole media pool, thankfully, with this trial. And it's in Florida, which is also great with my time zone. So, here we go, everyone. I think they just literally just started here.
Birthright and at Epcot.
Oh no, the sound is so bad. Just hold on 1 second. Oh dear, we're gonna have to boost a lot, okay? I did not expect it to start today. Did you? Let's quickly look. Laurie Shaver trial. Yeah, it's pretty much seems like that's where we're gonna have to watch it. So I'm gonna have to boost that a lot for you. Okay. Stand by. I just want to see if okay. So Fox also has it. Interesting. Hold on. Let's see if we can get some better sound going for you. I always want to give you the best quality. Yeah, they literally just started like that. Okay, so here we go. Boost. More. Okay.
And all of the accounts, that's consistent with those devices accessing
My left
accounts
ear.
being located in the same.
I can only hear it in one ear, so if you're using like AirPods or something, make sure that you switch ears if you can't hear anything. I have boosted it as much as I possibly can. I hope the sound improves throughout the trial.
The evidence will show that such activity, combined with common sense and all of the other circumstances in this case, is consistent with the defendant logging into Michael Shaver's Facebook account and posting things portraying herself to be Michael Shaver, or acting as if she was Michael Shaver. The evidence will show that she did this to carry on the facade that Michael Shaver was still alive, to carry on the facade and alleviate the concerns of his friends or family members who may inquire, to alleviate the concerns of law enforcement who may be asked to go look into where Michael Shaver is. Done to torment Vanessa.
Sorry, I will not interrupt opening statements again. Opening statements, the district attorney is Nicholas Amatuccio. The defense is Jeffrey Wiggs, we just saw him. And the judge is Judge Rada, R-A-D-A, okay? And so, as I say, I boosted the sound as much as I possibly can, number one. Secondly, I'm not going to interrupt because now it's opening statements. Can't believe they've already picked the jury. Jury selection started today. They picked the jury and off they go. This trial is off to a speedy start. Oh my goodness. And remember that Michael Shaver, they believe he was murdered between November 7th and 10th of 2015. He was reported missing in 2018, and his body was found in 2018, March, when they had a search warrant there. So that's what we know so far. If you haven't seen the trial prep we just did, which was reading the whole probable cause affidavit with all of those dates and times and all the evidence against this defendant, who is Laurie Shaver, then go and check it out. Michael Shaver, by the way, I'm just quickly telling you a few things before we dive into this, because we're really here at opening statements. Michael was 33 years old when he was murdered, and Laurie is currently 41 years old. Okay. And she, again, is coming from home every day because she posted bond in 2020. She was arrested in 2020. Okay, so here we go, everyone. Opening statements. And as I say, on all the feeds I've looked at now, they just started. I don't think anyone expected it. So, like, roll the camera. Let's go. So, off we go.
Vanessa Townsend, by sending her message portraying herself as Michael Shaver to expose the affair between the defendant and Sheriff Townsend. All of this done after Michael Shaver. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, this is a case about common sense. When you look at all the evidence, you listen to the testimony of all the witnesses, you examine all the circumstances, not the least of which is Michael Shaver's body was found buried under a concrete slab in the backyard of the defendant's residence. There can only be one common sense conclusion, and that is the defendant is guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Buxman. Yes, please.
What in the hell was that? Oh my goodness. I'm just saying turn closed captions on if you need to. It's always available during live streams. And then for replays, YouTube usually takes a few hours to process it and post it again, okay? Well, that was so defluffed, we heard about 2 sentences of it. So, was I the opening statements? It seems like I may have been. Okay. Yeah, Pernille's like, no coughing in the courtroom, please. There's always a cougher. They need some Ricola. Okay, so... What the hell was going on? I hope we get to see some more of that at some point. Will they upload it? Can we see the rest of that, please? Anyway.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard the state's opening. We've heard one repeated statement. Common sense. Just use your common sense. It's all about common sense. Okay? Now, the judge is going to give you instructions, and he's going to give you boundaries under the law. And it's not going to say, just find the defendant guilty by common sense. That's the state standard. Okay? The facts are far different from what the state is pronounced here today. And let me tell you, really, how this case originated. What was done and what was not done by the state in this case. Laurie Shaver grew up with Michael Shaver of St. New York. They got married as young kids, probably should have. And it was a tumultuous marriage. Went on for years and years. There was a lot of physical violence that transpired in this atmosphere. A lot. You'll see that there were injunctions imposed that Michael was in the house, he was out of the house.
Dude, Dude, can you just like, cameraman, hello, camera person? Can we maybe see the guy? We missed the opening statements from the state. Not we missed it, the cameras missed capturing it seems. And yeah, Katha is like, is this the money grabber? Yes, this is him, the defense. Mr., you're saying that based on the video we just watched? Okay, don't get being sued here. Jeffrey W. Wiggs, okay? But he's somewhere over here in the corner. So I'm just showing you a picture here of Laurie as well. Laurie Shaver over here. Okay. So.
It was ongoing problems. And the Shavers had some children that came upon the scene. This was not a pleasant atmosphere. Mr. Shaver, you'll hear, was very possessive. He was very combative. He was very destructive. He imposed fear in his family over and over again. And Ms. Shaver did not want to be with Mr. Shaver. That was clear. But Ms. Shaver did not resort to violence at any time, in any form, in any manner. What happened was Mr. Shaver was directed to be out of the residence. And as the state announced, yes, she began to date other people. One, Mr. Ballou, and another guy, Jeremy Townsend. The state didn't know about Jeremy Townsend until we told them about Jeremy Townsend. What happened was Mr. Townsend had been in the military. I think he was in special forces or training for special forces. And he began to date Laurie. This relationship was not, as the state would suggest, some light flame. This went on for months and months, and only after things blew up and Mr. Townsend was confronted does his tune change. Mr. Townsend, even after these charges were filed, was still following Mrs. Shaver. You'll hear. Still stalking her. This was a man that was infatuated with Laurie Shaver. Now, they did live on acreage, and there was, as the state suggests, an intent to build this duck pond. It was going to be a family affair. Kids were out there helping them try to build it. And it sounds like, what I understand, they kind of got wore down with the project and said, hey, we don't like ducks that much, basically. So they kind of abandoned their little project or desire at that stage, leaving some ground partially exposed. That was the duck pond. It was not designed by Laurie Shaver to bury Mr. Shaver or to carry out some nefarious intent in the future. That's how that came about, though. Now, what happened was Mr. Townsend was having this affair with Laurie, and Mr. Shaver was not supposed to be at the residence. Morning arrives, Mr. Shaver arrives on the scene, begins battering Laurie Shaver. He wants her back. She was chattel to him, just like a car or a piece of property. And she informs him, we're not going back. And she starts getting the diggings being done. Minor child heard this. Isabel Shaver. State didn't know about Isabel. We advised the state about Isabel, only to be turned away.
I'm so sorry to pause this again. I may have found a way to watch the States ones. If I do, I'm gonna play this afterwards then.
We would be turned away from their office because they had formulated a plan. They had formulated a design. This is how it happened, but we don't want to hear another story. So we were sent away. But Isabel will tell you what happened. Isabel has her own attorney appointed, Lady Kelly Johnson. He did not want any appearance, any discussions with Isabel that were unguided, inappropriate, but would look inappropriate. So Ms. Johnson came on to represent her. So Ms. Johnson has advised her of the dangers of taking the stand, telling her what could happen to her if she were to take the stand. But Isabel says she's going to tell the truth, and I'm going to tell you what happened. And as she relays, is she's at the residence with her mom, and in walks Michael, carrying on. He starts to battle his wife. And Isabel hears, I'm going to kill you. She hears a lot of commotion. She hears her mother begging, leave me alone, leave me alone. She walks in the room. She'll testify. And poor old Michael is sitting in a chair with his foot on Laurie Shaver's head as Laurie's gasping. And Michael is sitting there threatening to kill her. And this young girl, in desperation and in fear, runs and retrieves a firearm. As she believes she shot Michael, she thinks she did. She says she thought she hit him. She believes she hit him. But almost simultaneously, in walks Jay. He sees what's going on. Laurie is still on the ground. Laurie has not even gotten to her feet. And Jay walks in, takes a gun from Isabel, shoots Michael Shaver in the head. Says, Laurie, get these kids.
I'm assuming he's talking about the child now? My goodness. Okay, sorry for interrupting opening statements. I know the sound is pretty bad from this court feed. And we boosted it, right? So, but normally they sort it out after the first day or two.
Get out of here, I'll take care of this. Anybody says a thing about this, I'll kill you too. Laurie said we were like deer in headlights. Got into the car, I took the kids to school. Isabel said this was so routine, the violence in this household. I was just numb, but we didn't speak about it. And Mom, as the state would want you to believe, is so infatuated with Jay, broke it off right there. We don't want to see you. Now, Laurie assumes Jay has done something with the body beyond her knowledge, its whereabouts, or anything. It's just gone. Michael's been the biggest nightmare in her life, and all she can do is bury her thoughts. That's it. Yes, the police come knocking, the police come inquiring, the police come looking around, the police get a warrant, and yes, the body of Michael Shaver is found. Unbeknownst to Laurie, Mr. Townsend had put me on that ground that they were preparing originally for the duck park. Now, the state keeps using words like common sense. Just rely on your common sense. Because they don't have really any evidence, no real hard evidence that Laurie Shaver killed Michael Shaver. You are not going to hear any technician, no FDLE person say, yeah, we found Laurie Shaver's prints on that tarp. We found Laurie Shaver's DNA on that tarp. We didn't find any whereabouts or knowledge or connection between that tarp, that gun, that socket wrench, hand wrench, with Laurie Shaver. Nothing. What we spoke about more about a lack of evidence. So there's no connective link between Laurie and the death of how this occurred. And regrettably, Isabel was placed in the posture now of having to come up here and tell y'all what happened. Nobody wanted to talk to Isabel. Nobody wanted to look at what truly happened in this case. So here we are. The state's case, as we stated,
Yay, we got to see the judge a little bit. So from what I can see, when I look at another feed now, there's about 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes of the state's opening statements. So initially it was just starting, it still starts abruptly. But after this, we're going to watch that. If you're watching the replay, sorry, this time it's in different order. We first really listened to a little bit of the state's opening statements, and then we went straight to the defense, which is a strain on the ears. Hey, just to be like, what? Okay, show us. We want to lip read at least. But then we're going to be watching the state's opening statements right after this. And there might even be one witness or so. And then we'll be back for day 2 tomorrow. Okay, so let's keep going.
is really a case of conjecture. It's a case of emotion, something we spoke about more about. Something to try to pull your heart, to feel sorry for Michael Shaver. So what do they think we're going to do? We're going to get some digital data and say it came from Laurie Shaver. That digital data came from Laurie Shaver. You'll ask yourself this: how does this digital data prove that Laurie Shaver killed Michael Shaver? It doesn't. Now the state, in their bravery, has not even listed in their information anybody that she aided and assisted in covering up the crime. Why? Because they knew it's Isabel, and they didn't want to have to deal with that. So the evidence showed. They don't want to look at everything, but they should have looked at it. You see? The state was going on about this digital data. Richard Carter will be called by the defense. He's a digital data guy, like one of our jurors. And he'll talk about the expiration of IP registrations, that they expire in time, and then at a certain point, they don't link an IP address to a device, to an individual, or a location. But the state thinks we can pull this out of the ether of space, out of nowhere, and say, well, here's some digital data thrown at you, and then we're going to assume, and you assume, on top of that, Laurie Shaver killed Michael Shaver, when there's no connected link. It's a big step to make an allegation like this. It's a huge step. It's a huger step for you to try to leap to the conclusion based on what the state's going to put before you that Laurie Shaver killed Michael Shaver. Instead, what Isabel says is whatever. There's nobody to refute Isabel Shaver. And we didn't contrive this witness. We went to the state early on and said, let's level with you. Tell you what happened. Thinking they're going to go after Jeremy. Look at what the cost was. But no, they fixed the position, formulated a plan, and despite the powers and the responsibilities they have, they're not seeking justice. They're seeking a verdict. And the two are two opposite goals. They're not seeking justice. They're seeking a verdict. You keep that in mind. Now, Laurie is likewise charged with this crime of accessory. The state has no information.
I wouldn't normally pause on opening statements, but it's extremely difficult to follow because they don't show the defense attorney much on camera here. And we can't hear very well, right? So Laurie Leigh Shaver has been charged with murder in the second degree with a firearm, as well as accessory after the fact to a life felony. The offense date is listed as 11/07 of 2015. She's pleaded not guilty. She posted bond already in September of 2020. She was initially booked on September 17th of 2020, posted bond of $50,000. She's been out since and at home. She has 4 children, 2 with Michael Shaver and 2 with, I think, with Travis, the next husband. We can almost say next victim, but okay, next husband. All right. Michael Douglas Shaver, they believe, was shot, killed on between November 7th and 10th of 2015, and his body was only discovered in 2018. I'm just going to tear this off. Sorry for this noise. Okay, I just want to be able to flip this over and show you or talk to you about it. So September 14th, Laurie says that he left the home, Michael. November 7th, he was last seen in public with Laurie and the 2 kids. February 16th of 2018, there was a wellbeing check. And on March 9th of 2018, there was a search warrant and Michael Shaver's remains were found, buried under that fire pit on the property. This happened in Florida, okay? Lake County, Florida. So, yes, and there was a little bit of a glitch with the stream. It starts very abruptly, and it just, we started at some point, but I'm going to go over that again. So we're going to be finishing this defense opening statement, and then we're going to switch back to the states and watch as much of it as we can, which is about 45 minutes. And then there's actually going to be, it looks like, 1 witness for the day, and we'll watch that as well today. That's day 1. And then tomorrow we'll be back for day 2, okay? It'll be hopefully more organized and better sound from the court as well.
No data, no communications, that anybody was given any particular assistance after this offense. No. The most the state can do, the very most the state can do here is try to say, well, she lied this date, or maybe she lied that date, or maybe she lied that date. Okay? Laurie Shaver is not here on trial for lying or making a misrepresentation. That's not evidence of a murder. That's evidence to evoke emotion to try to anger you into a judgment. Not justice. They're 2 different things. Now, the state carries the burden of proof, as we discussed, all the way through the case. Laurie Shaver is not required to testify. She may, right? It's up to her. But you will hear from Mr. Cohen. You will hear from Ms. Bell. You will hear that, okay? And you will hear Jeremy Townsend. What I anticipate is Jeremy Townsend will dodge every question. You will acknowledge it. But Jeremy Townsend has spoken to the state. He's dealt with the state. This man's not going to get on the stand, expose himself. Okay? So we could probably infer Mr. Townsend has some negotiated testimony with the state.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
It's my first time arguments, thank you.
And now we're all deaf. Okay, let's go forward a bit here. Wow, sidebars. Hope they don't do that every time. That's a long sidebar.
But witness.
Okay. So, couple of teething problems on day 1, but it's okay.
You will see no witness confirmation that Laurie Shaver killed Michael Shaver. At the end of the case, the state is going to play on that emotion and say, it was this maybe misstatement or that misstatement or misdirection here or misdirection there. That's lead to the conclusion she killed Michael Shaver. That's not what cases are built on. They're built on real evidence. We ask if you listen to the evidence, to real evidence, those that you can draw logical conclusions from, not speculative, imaginary conclusions that go as far as they suddenly murdered another person. And when you listen to that, we believe that more than one reasonable doubt exists. Multiple reasonable doubts by lack of evidence, a conflict in evidence, and the fact that whatever feelings you have, it will not be stable. It will waver and vacillate, and based on that direction that the judge gives you, find the defendant not guilty in this case. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riggs.
Thank you, Judge.
Like, thank you, Judge. Okay, now let me go fetch that other feed for us. so that we can see as much as possible of the opening statements. Okay, wait, we're gonna do this. Someone is asking, Tom, can you show the leg tattoo again? Oh, sure, that's why you want to see it. You said what? I think I taught one of her kids in 16, 17. This is a picture of her. Okay, while I fetch this, so just hold on. Bring it over. Gonna make sure the sound is as good as it can be as well. Okay. So now we're gonna start from the beginning of when the camera started rolling. That's what I thought I'd do earlier, but it seems like it's a little bit earlier than that. Okay. Are we ready, everyone? Here we go. Okay. So now this is defense attorney, District Attorney Nicholas Amatuccio. Okay.
At Epcot. They both were set to work on November 10th of 2015. They worked the night shift, which was 7 p.m. to 7 in the morning. Tuesday, November 10th, 2015 rolled around. Michael Shaver didn't show up for work. He didn't show up. He didn't call saying, hey, I'm not coming in. This was unusual for Michael Shaver not to show up for work and not to call saying, hey, I can't make it for whatever reason. November 11th, 2015, Wednesday, came along. Michael Shaver was supposed to work that day as well. Mr. Shaver didn't show up. Didn't call in and say, hey, this is what's going on, I can't make it to work today. So now that he has not shown up to work for 2 straight days and not told anyone, letting him know, Michael Shaver's boss, John Borglum, gets involved. John Borglum tried to reach out to Mr. Shaver to find out.
Is the sound okay, everyone? I hope the sound is okay. I boosted it, not too much, otherwise we're going to hear too much white noise. I think this is pretty good. Looks like it on my side. Also, so this is now the state's opening statements. It's in a different order today because we didn't expect this to start today. Today was jury selection. And I see a lot of people asking about the bond. The bond was probably like about $500,000, but she posted bond. Her bail she paid was $50,000, right? And she's been at home ever since, which she was arrested on September 17th of 2020. So just think about that, because they believe the murder was committed between November 7th and 10th of 2015. So arrested 17th of September of 2020. That's a long time later. And then she's been at home ever since, right? Okay, so.
What's going on? He did so, and John Borglum got a text from Michael Shaver's phone indicating he's not coming to work, that he was having issues at home, that he was in Georgia, and to go ahead and fire him. The evidence will show, ladies and gentlemen, that Michael Shaver was not in Georgia. Michael Shaver was dead. After not showing up for work for several days, after knowing that Michael Shaver had not shown up to work for several days, Frank Merritt went to the Shaver residence and made contact with his wife, the defendant, Ms. Laurie Shaver. Frank Merritt asked about Mike. The defendant said Michael Shaver, her husband at the time, was in Georgia. He said that a co-worker of Mike's, a guy named Robert Mercado, picked Mr. Shaver up and drove him to Georgia, and he's gone. The defendant said that Michael Shaver left because she and Mr. Shaver had an argument. Frank Merritt did notice that Michael Shaver's car was still on the Shaver residence property and it had a flat tire. Frank Merritt texted Michael Shaver here and there several times. He got responses occasionally from Michael Shaver's phone, but never had the ability to speak directly with Michael Shaver to verify that Mr. Shaver was the one sending his messages. As I said, the evidence will show that Michael Shaver was dead. He was not the one responding to those text messages. The evidence is going to show that the defendant gradually got rid of Michael Shaver's property. She sold his four-wheelers, sold some expensive tools, sold guns. She knew Michael Shaver wasn't coming back. She knew Michael Shaver wasn't going to need those things because she knew Michael Shaver is dead. You're going to hear from Robert Mercado, the person that the defendant indicated picked Michael Shaver up and drove him to Georgia. Robert Mercado also worked with Michael Shaver at Epcot, but they didn't work at the same ride. They worked at different rides, so they didn't see each other on a regular basis. They saw each other occasionally, but not all the time. Mr. Mercado will explain to you that there were plans for a work-type Thanksgiving get-together to happen at the Shaver residence. So Mr. Mercado sent some text message to Michael Shaver several weeks before this get-together was supposed to happen to see, hey, are their plans still a go? Are we still doing this thing? He got no response. Mr. Mercado texted Michael Shaver several times, 2 or 3 times. Eventually, Michael Shaver's phone responded to Robert Mercado and said, "Leave me alone, I'm working on my marriage and my family." Robert Mercado did not actually speak with Michael Shaver at that time. That communication was done by text only. Again, the evidence will show Michael Shaver at the time was dead. Most importantly, Robert Mercado will explain to you that at no time during the weekend or around the weekend of November 7th of 2015 did he go over to the Shaver residence. At no time did he load Michael Shaver up in his SUV. And at no time did he take Michael Shaver to Georgia, directly contradicting the statements that the defendant was making to various people about where Michael Shaver went. You'll hear from Corey Letzo, another friend and co-worker of Mr. Shaver. They also worked together at Spaceship Earth, and he was also supposed to go to this work Thanksgiving get-together at the Shaver residence. Mr. Letzo will tell you that after the weekend of November 7th, 2015, he never saw or personally spoke to Michael Shaver. You'll hear from Michael Shaver's family. You'll hear from his father, Doug Shaver, his brother, Brian Shaver, Christine Court, his sister, Desiree Snyder, his niece, Stacy Turner, his sister. And they'll explain to you that they had contact with Michael Shaver over the years to varying degrees and varying frequencies. But following November of 2015, none of those family members ever saw or personally spoke to Michael Shaver. They received some messages here and there, maybe by text or some Facebook messages, but never actually had any contact with Michael Shaver to actually hear his voice and to verify he was alive. The evidence will show that was because Michael Shaver at that time was dead. He was not the one sending Facebook messages and text messages. You'll hear from a man named Scott Amatuccio. He was a close friend of both the defendants and Michael Shaver's because they all grew up together. He'll tell you very similar information about not seeing or directly speaking with Michael Shaver after November of 2015. For a several-year period of time between November of 2015 into 2018, Mr. Amatuccio eventually realized, I haven't heard from Mike recently. I haven't really ever heard anything from him. Started to get a little bit concerned. So Scott Amatuccio reached out to Michael Shaver's family, who he knew because, again, he grew up with Michael Shaver, and learned that nobody had directly spoken with him or seen him since November of 2015. Scott Amatuccio also learned about a concrete slab that had been laid in the back of the Shaver residence. And he became concerned. Because of this concern, Scott Amatuccio reached out to the Lake County Sheriff's Office and asked that they go to the Shaver residence. Somebody from law enforcement go to that Shaver residence and try to make contact with Michael Shaver if he was there, to find out what's going on with Michael Shaver. I don't know what's going on. I also asked him to take a look at that concrete slab in the back where there was now a fire pit, same place that duck pond was supposed to be. So based on the information received by Scott Amatuccio, Lake County Sheriff's Office became involved. On February 16th of now 2018, Deputy Corey Anderson from the Lake County Sheriff's Office went out to the property and made contact with the defendant, Laurie Shaver. Deputy Anderson asked about Michael Shaver, asked about where's her husband. The defendant said that she and Michael Shaver were separated, that he picked up and left, and that she had no idea where he was. Based on Scott Amatuccio's concerns about this concrete slab where this duck pond was going to be in the back, Deputy Corey Anderson asked permission to go and take a look around the property. The defendant allowed that. Deputy Anderson got to the area where this concrete slab was located, and he noticed something unusual about that slab. He noticed that there was a depression in that concrete slab, the place where that slab was sagging into the ground. Deputy Anderson knew that when a body is buried and a body is decomposing, that decomposition process eventually leaves a void where that body is located, which causes depression. Seeing this depression in the concrete, combined with the concerns of Scott Amatuccio, and now thinking this could be a grave, Deputy Anderson became more suspicious. He actually took out his phone and took a couple pictures of this depression. He then went and provided this information to other detectives at the Lake County Sheriff's Office. He reported what he found and all this information. On March 9th of 2018, law enforcement obtained a search warrant. The search warrant is basically a document that's signed by a judge that allows law enforcement to go to a location and search and collect certain evidence. So based on the authority given to this by the search warrant, law enforcement, detectives, crime scene investigators went out to the Shaver residence to search for evidence related to the disappearance of Michael Shaver. Crime scene investigators trained in the collection of evidence and trained in the collection and excavation of human remains went out to the scene. And with the use of some ground-penetrating radar, their focus quickly turned to this concrete slab where there was fire and where there was depression in that concrete. Some heavy equipment was brought in to dismantle that fireplace and to break up that concrete slab to give them access to the dirt beneath the concrete slab. And that excavation process began. Crime scene investigators began that slow and painstaking excavation process by digging up dirt, sifting that dirt, separating potential evidence, and that process went for a period of time. As they dug, and as they dug, and as they sifted, they eventually came across a humerus bone, which is a bone in the arm. Because it was getting late at this point, and crime scene investigators realized that they have a lot more work to do and it's going to be getting dark pretty soon, they stopped the excavation process and were on hold until the following morning when it became light out. Law enforcement officers were stationed and posted in the area to make sure that nobody came onto the scene to disturb any of the evidence or do anything to the Shaver residence. The next morning, law enforcement officers, crime scene investigators, medical examiner investigators, and other people went to the Shaver residence to continue this excavation process. As crime scene investigators continued to dig and continued to sift the dirt, they came across a blue tarp buried in the ground. Beneath that blue tarp, they found human remains. The bones and the human remains were completely skeletonized. Those human remains, there were socks on them, there was a pair of boxers and a pair of shorts on human remains, and a green ratchet type strap was wrapped around those bones. Crime scene investigators carefully collected the bones out of the grave, placed them on a tarp, and those bones were transported to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy to be done. While still on scene, one of the crime scene investigators, Jessica Holcomb, made contact with Michael Shaver's father, Doug Shaver. Doug Shaver had come down from Georgia, down to Claremont, down to the Shaver residence, when he learned that law enforcement was doing this investigation of what law enforcement had found the night before. Crime scene investigator Jessica Holcomb collected a DNA sample from Doug Shaver, took a swab and put it inside of his mouth and collected what's called a buccal swab, known as a known DNA standard for comparisons. You'll hear that the femur bone collected from the grave, along with the DNA standards from Douglas Shaver, Michael Shaver's father, were sent to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for DNA analysis. The DNA analyst, Edgar Perez, compared the DNA from that femur bone found in the grave to the known DNA standard of Douglas Shaver and confirmed what at this point was known to everyone. He determined that the DNA from the femur was consistent with coming from a bone of the biological child of Douglas Shaver. This confirmed Michael Shaver, who had been missing and not heard from since November of 2015, was in that grave, deceased. As I said, Michael Shaver's remains were collected and transported to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy to be done. And that's where Dr. Kyle Shaw, one of the medical examiners there, performed an autopsy. When he examined the skull that was recovered, he found an obvious single gunshot wound to the back of the skull, the hole right in the back of the skull, consistent with that of a gunshot wound. He found a bullet or a projectile inside the skull. And analysis later determined that that bullet was of a .38 caliber class, meaning that bullet could have been fired from a .38, a .380, a .357, or a 9mm. So my 9mm. That .38 caliber class can be fired of any of those types of caliber guns because the sizes are very similar. There was no exit wound to the skull, indicating a single entrance wound, hence the projectile being found inside the skull when it was recovered. Dr. Shaw examined the skull, found no other injuries or no other trauma. He examined all of the other bones collected. He found no other signs of trauma or injury, no chips, no breaks, no trauma whatsoever in any of the other bones. Based on his analysis, Dr. Shaw determined that the cause of death was the single gunshot wound to the back of the head and determined this to be a homicide. Michael Shaver's remains were then sent to a laboratory associated with the University of Florida in Gainesville. It's a laboratory called the Pound Lab, and they specialize in the analysis and examination of human remains. Dr. Samantha Coberly examined the remains as well, determined that the remains were consistent with a young, middle-aged male, of which Michael Shaver was. And they were consistent with having been in the ground for several months to several years. She also examined the skull, saw that single gunshot wound, and confirmed in her opinion that was the result of a single gunshot wound. She also examined the skull and the bones and found no other signs of trauma or damage or injury to any other part of the skull or any of the other bones recovered. And almost the entire skeleton was recovered. She also removed some bullet fragments from the inside of the skull, packaged those up, and sent those bullet fragments and all the bones back to the medical examiner's office. Law enforcement continued to investigate this crime. During the investigation, detectives spoke with a man named Robert Seha. He was a neighbor of the defendant's Shaver residence that lived nearby. And Robert Seha is going to tell you that about a month or two before law enforcement came to the Shaver residence to do this well-being check, which led to the unearthing of Michael Shaver's body, the defendant approached Mr. Seha and offered to sell him a pink and black .38 caliber handgun. The defendant indicated she needed money to pay some bills, and Robert Seha bought this .38 caliber pink and black handgun from the defendant. Now, law enforcement took this gun because it was a .38 caliber, and the projectile found inside Michael Shaver's skull was of a .38 caliber class. So the gun, that .38 caliber gun that the defendant sold to Mr. Seha, was sent along with the projectile recovered from Mr. Shaver's skull to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for firearms analysis. Firearms analyst Megan Cleek examined that .38 caliber firearm and found it to be in working order. It was functional. It could be fired. She fired some test fires from that gun to then be able to take those test fire projectiles to scientifically and microscopically try to compare to the projectile found in Michael Shaver's skull to see if they were fired from the same gun. And she'll explain to you that every gun, when it fires a projectile, leaves impressions on the projectile. And some of those impressions, if they're clear enough, they're unique. And then in certain situations, not always, but sometimes, she can microscopically examine the projectile and say this projectile was fired by this gun because the microscopic impressions left match. Though the projectile found in Michael Shaver's skull, that .38 caliber class projectile, was capable of being fired from the gun, the impressions and the markings on the projectile were not clear enough for her to make any other determinations. Nothing indicated that the projectile found in Michael Shaver's skull could not have been fired from the gun. For instance, that projectile wasn't excluded as being fired from the gun. There was just not enough detail in the projectile for her to say definitively this bullet found in the skull was fired from this weapon. Now remember, we talked about Michael Shaver's friends and family had no direct either seeing him or speaking to him, hearing his voice. No direct contact with Michael Shaver after that weekend of November 7th, 2015. You'll hear that in December of 2015, a man named Travis Filmer came into the picture, came into the defendant's life. Travis Filmer was a man that the defendant met at the gym around December of 2015, and the defendant and Travis Filmer began to date, and shortly thereafter, Travis Filmer moved into the Shaver residence, the same residence that Michael Shaver's body was found in the backyard. You'll hear that around the end of April of 2016, a posting to the defendant's Facebook account showed a large number of concrete bags in the bed of the pickup truck. Since Michael Shaver's body was found under a concrete slab, law enforcement obviously became interested in this information. So after Michael Shaver's body was found, law enforcement obtained the Facebook records from both Michael Shaver's Facebook account and the defendant's Facebook account. And they looked into trying to determine, that's how they found that picture of the concrete in the bed of the pickup truck. And they started looking to determine when did that concrete slab get poured and how did it get there. Detectives discovered a receipt from Home Depot dated September 12th of 2016 that Travis Filmer rented a concrete mixer. And you'll hear that Travis Filmer and his twin brother, Austin Filmer, poured that concrete slab and laid that concrete slab with that concrete mixer that Travis Filmer rented from Home Depot. And that was about 10 months after the November time period when nobody had ever seen Mr. Shaver, Michael Shaver, again. As law enforcement officers continued to investigate this case, they received a couple of names from the defendant's defense lawyer, Mr. Wiggs, as people who could potentially have been involved in this homicide. Those names were James Ballou and Jeremy Townsend. Doing their due diligence, law enforcement went and made contact with those two people. You'll hear from James Ballou, who'll tell you that he met the defendant in about 2014 when he was working at Don Neely Chevrolet and sold her a truck. Though James Ballou was married at the time, Mr. Ballou began a romantic relationship with the defendant in 2014. The defendant wanted a more serious relationship than what Mr. Ballou wanted. Mr. Ballou was not interested in that kind of a serious relationship with the defendant. That relationship lasted only a few months when Mr. Ballou ended it around the middle of 2014 in order to go try to work things out with his wife. From that point on, James Ballou had no contact with Laurie Shaver. So at that time, that James Ballou ended the contact, Michael Shaver was clearly still alive as people had seen him. Law enforcement also tracked down Jeremy Townsend. You'll hear from both Jeremy Townsend and his wife, Vanessa Townsend. Jeremy Townsend will tell you that he met the defendant in a park around September or October of 2015, about 1 or 2 months before Michael Shaver dropped off the face of the earth. Jeremy would take his and his wife's child to the park where he would meet up and where he met Laurie Shaver, who was there at the park with her child, Aiden. Jeremy and his wife, Vanessa, were going through marital problems at the time, and Jeremy and the defendant began an affair. That affair started around December of 2015, about a month after Michael Shaver was last ever seen or heard from. Mr. Townsend would go to the Shaver residence during the defendant's lunch hour. He and the defendant would meet up sexually. And Jeremy Townsend will explain to you that he never met Michael Shaver, and the defendant told him that she and Michael Shaver were divorced. The defendant told Jeremy Townsend the same story that she's told other people, that Michael Shaver, or someone came and picked up Michael Shaver, took him to Georgia, and she hasn't seen from him since. The same story that Robert Mercado, the person she says picked Michael Shaver up, says never happened. Around February of 2016, the affair between Jeremy Townsend and the defendant basically started falling apart. The defendant wanted more out of the relationship than it was. Jeremy Townsend saw this relationship as more of a sexual fling type relationship, didn't want it to get serious, but the defendant did. The defendant wanted Jeremy Townsend to file for divorce from his wife and wanted Jeremy Townsend to move in with her into the Shaver residence, the same residence Michael Shaver's body was found buried behind. Jeremy Townsend didn't want that, didn't want to divorce his wife, didn't want it to get that serious, and decided that he wanted to work things out with his own wife. Jeremy Townsend and the defendant argued about the status of their relationship together. The defendant started giving Jeremy Townsend an ultimatum. You get rid of your wife, come be with me. And she was going to expose the affair to Jeremy Townsend's wife. A few months after this fight between Jeremy Townsend and the defendant about exposing the affair, Jeremy Townsend's wife, Vanessa Townsend, received flowers.
Objection. Objection approach.
It's on the sidebar.
That white noise with a sidebar. Oh, we're going to have to anticipate that. So thank you so much to Squinting Cat for correcting the information there. This prosecutor's name is Rich Buxman. The one that I had, which maybe we'll see at some stage, I don't know. They haven't shown us the whole courtroom yet, but Nicholas Amatuccio is the district attorney listed on the documents that I saw. And so this is Rich Buxman, Chief of Homicide Prosecution. Thank you, Squinting Cat, for that. The defense is Jeffrey W. Wiggs, and the judge is Carrie F. Rada. Okay, this sitting here is the defendant, and her name is Laurie Leigh Shaver. She's 41 years old. Her date of birth is October 30th of 1982, so she's turning 42 soon. Okay, and she's been charged with murder in the second degree with a firearm, as well as accessory after the fact to a life felony. So I've just put a few little bullet points up there for anyone who missed the trial prep we did by reading the probable cause affidavit. As I say, I'm quite new to this case, so I wish I knew everything about it, but I'm trying to read as much as possible as well, so that as we go along, we could, pause and talk about it like this. Okay, so now the thing is, though, we could go forward because we can't. So let's go forward through the sidebar here. Welcome to defluffing the trial.
Where the defendant
we go.
to expose this affair, Jeremy Townsend's wife would come be with her. Jeremy Townsend's wife, Vanessa Townsend, received some flowers at the school where she worked as a teacher, and it was a message with those flowers. The message indicated, check your Facebook account. So, Vanessa Townsend checked her Facebook account, and she noticed that she received a message from Facebook the same day she received these flowers from somebody purporting to be Michael Shaver. Remember, this is about 6 months after anybody had seen or ever spoke to Michael Shaver. This is now November of 2015. This is April of 2016. Vanessa Townsend received this Facebook message from someone claiming to be Michael Shaver, which said that she'll be getting a special delivery. There was also a phone number associated with the delivery of those flowers in that Facebook message. She accepted this friend request from the person supposedly being Michael Shaver and noticed that there were previous messages to her from this same person claiming to be Michael Shaver over the preceding months. She had not seen those text messages or those Facebook messages beforehand because she wasn't a friend of Michael Shaver and didn't notice that they were there. So when she looked at those messages sent purportedly from Michael Shaver's Facebook account, she noticed evidence, or she noticed those messages included screenshots of conversations between Jeremy Townsend and the defendant. They included photographs of Jeremy Townsend and the defendant together. They were evidence and proof of the affair that the defendant was having with Jeremy Townsend. And these messages, coincidentally, started very shortly after the fight between Jeremy Townsend and the defendant, where the defendant was giving Jeremy Townsend an ultimatum to leave your wife or I'll expose the affair. The evidence will show that these messages, these Facebook messages and photos and flowers were clearly an effort to expose the affair, drive a wedge between Jeremy Townsend and Vanessa Townsend, and drive Jeremy back to the defendant. It didn't work. After much work with their marriage, Jeremy Townsend and Vanessa Townsend got back together and they remained married. Law enforcement obviously wanted to investigate the source of these flowers. We know they can't be from Michael Shaver. Michael Shaver is dead. They obtained search warrants. They obtained a search warrant, like I said, for the defendant's Facebook account and Michael Shaver's Facebook account. They found those Facebook messages from Michael Shaver's account to Vanessa Townsend's account talking about the affair and the photos and the flowers and the delivery and things like that. They issued subpoenas for the defendant's bank records, for the victim's bank records, and you're going to see that the defendant and Michael Shaver had separate bank accounts. Detectives issued a subpoena for the defendant's cell phone records, for Michael Shaver's cell phone records. And eventually law enforcement officers received all of these records and started to pour through them when they came in. They found that Michael Shaver's cell phone had no outgoing calls after November 7th of 2015, which coincides with the last time anyone had ever seen or directly spoke to Michael Shaver. The defendant's cell phone records didn't show any phone calls or texts to Michael Shaver's number. Detectives looked at the defendant's bank records, and you'll hear that they traced the purchase of those flowers that were sent to Vanessa Townsend as coming out of the defendant's bank account. Further evidence that the defendant was the one that was responsible for sending those flowers and sending the Facebook messages acting as if she was Michael Shaver to Vanessa Townsend. Remember I said that there was a phone number associated with that Facebook message that was sent to Vanessa Townsend. Well, they looked into that phone number and determined that phone number was associated also with the defendant. Further evidence that the defendant was the one portraying herself to be Michael Shaver after Michael Shaver was dead. Because there were a variety of sources indicating that they received text messages or Facebook messages from Michael Shaver after that November 7th, 2015 weekend, detectives dove deeper into the records, and deeper especially into those Facebook records, to see if they could find evidence that someone was logging into Michael Shaver's Facebook records and portraying himself to be Michael Shaver when Michael Shaver was dead. The detectives found such evidence. Detectives investigated the internet protocol addresses provided by Facebook for the accounts of both the defendant and Michael Shaver's Facebook accounts. And for those of you who are not IT directors, an internet protocol, you'll hear that an internet protocol address or an IP address is kind of like a physical address. It is assigned to a particular location through the internet provider like Spectrum, Verizon, Cox, whatever it is that provides internet service to a house or a business. So for example, when I'm home, my home is assigned a unique IP address to my house through my internet provider, which just happens to be Spectrum. That IP address is what gives my home access to the internet. That IP address is unique to my house. It's going to be different than my neighbors. It's going to be different than Starbucks. It's unique to me, or to my house. Also on my home, or if it's a business is something device called a router. Where a router is a device that allows multiple devices inside the house to connect to the internet at the same time, such as if I'm on my phone, if I'm on my laptop, if my wife is on her phone and her laptop, they all can be used together and access the internet. The router sends out the signal to those devices. All of us and all those devices will share the same IP address, because that IP address is unique to my house. So if I log into Facebook with my phone, and I post a photo, or I post a message, or I do something to my account, Facebook, the organization of Facebook, keeps those records. And they keep the IP addresses associated with the device that activated Facebook. Often the internet provider will change IP addresses, but ultimately they are unique to the house. So if I'm at home, I'm logging on to Facebook, and Mr. Amatuccio decides to come over to my house, and he logs into my network, we're going to be sharing the same IP address at the same time, because we're in the same general location, the same house, using the same network and the same IP address. Detectives received those Facebook records from the defendant's account and Michael Shaver's account from November of 2015 up through about November of 2017. When the detectives got those IP addresses from Facebook, unfortunately they were not able to determine the physical address that that IP address was assigned to, because those records were too old and they had been purged by the provider, the internet service provider. They just didn't exist anymore. But what they were able to determine is that during that 3-year period of time, from around November of 2015 to November of 2017, Michael Shaver's Facebook remained active, despite the fact that there were postings during that period of time. There were photos posted. There were funny little memes posted on his account. His profile picture had changed. His account had been activated and deactivated. There was activity. Some of the activity on Michael Shaver's Facebook account actually occurred after that concrete slab under which his body was found was actually poured. So we know Michael Shaver couldn't do it. When they examined the IP addresses associated with Michael Shaver and the defendant's Facebook account during that time period, detectives noticed that the same IP address was used by both the defendant's and Michael Shaver's Facebook accounts. sometimes those Facebook accounts were accessed using the same IP address within minutes of each other. The evidence will show that because those accounts shared that same IP address within sometimes minutes of activity on each of the accounts, that's consistent with those devices accessing accounts being located in the same house. The evidence will show that such activity, combined with common sense and all of the other circumstances in this case, is consistent with the defendant logging into Michael Shaver's Facebook account and posting things portraying herself to be Michael Shaver, or acting as if she was Michael Shaver. The evidence will show that she did this to carry on the facade that Michael Shaver was still alive, to carry on the facade and alleviate the concerns of his friends or family members who may inquire, to alleviate the concerns of law enforcement who may be asked to go look into where Michael Shaver is. Done to torment Vanessa Townsend by sending her message portraying herself as Michael Shaver, who exposed the affair between the defendant and Jeremy Townsend. All of this done after Michael Shaver. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, this is a case about common sense. When you look at all the evidence, you listen to the testimony of all the witnesses, you examine all the circumstances, not the least of which is Michael Shaver's body was found buried under a concrete slab in the backyard of the defendant's residence. There can only be one common sense conclusion, and that is that the defendant is guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Buxman.
Now, who wants to hear the defense again? You'll feel like, ah. Okay, so I've just put this little banner up here because I know many people had not caught the beginning of the stream. I thought we're just going to do trial prep today and start with day one tomorrow, but damn, they just selected that jury so quick. I'm wondering if there's any like locals in chat. Normally, like we saw with Ashley Benefield, it would be for these types of charges. She had similar types of charges, Ashley Benefield. I think it would be 6 jurors, if I'm not mistaken, in Florida, right? Anyway, so I put this little banner up just in case you don't know the basics of the case, and you can also expand the description box, and I've done a little write-up there for you, okay? And today we read through the probable cause affidavit, and I'm sure there's so much more that we can learn from this. So now, you want to hear the defense again? We've already heard the defenses once, okay? So what I'm going to do now is skip forward through that, okay? And we're going to go here. Take this off here. Okay, and then they're going to bring up a witness. So for anyone watching the replay, if you are confused, don't be confused. It's day one. Didn't expect it to happen today. The stream was all over the place as well. So it's a little bit, we first watched the defense and now we watch the states. It was actually in reality the other way around. As always, the state's opening statements, then the defense. Please check my pinned comments because any corrections, like midway through there, I corrected the prosecuting attorney's name. I'll put all the corrections always in the pinned comments, okay? So make sure you read those as well. It'll be the very first comment that you see. That's where I do the timestamps as well. Okay, so let's see what happens here now. There's a witness that they call, and then it's about 25 minutes or so, and then it's the end of the day for day one. Oh, damn. The sound gets quite loud. Let me just turn it down a little bit for us. Okay.
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Mr. Merritt, can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hello, my name is Frank Merritt. I was Michael Shaver's friend.
And can you go ahead and spell your last name, please?
M-E-R-R-I-T-T.
How long did you know Michael Shaver?
About a year.
And when you're talking about...
Okay, whoa. This trial is like super speed. Oh, jury selection, half the day. Ready to go? Off we go. Okay, we've got opening statements. Damn. And now there's the first witness, Frank Merritt. Okay, so he was in the probable cause affidavit. They mentioned him. And so I'm going to put his name up on the screen now while we listen to what he's got to say.
You knew him for a year. Would that then be a year from his disappearance in November of 2015?
Yes, so I was met Mike in November of 2014 through 2015.
Did you ever go over to his house that he shared with his wife, Laurie Shaver, to visit or socialize?
Yes, I did.
And would you socialize with them at other locations as well?
Yes, we did.
How long did you know Laurie Shaver?
Probably half that time.
And do you recognize her? Do you see her in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Okay, can you please point her out and identify her by something that she's wearing?
Yes, she's sitting there next to Mr. Briggs, wearing a black shirt jacket,
Okay. Grab a large group type that she's identified as now.
directly with silver foot.
Now, where did you first meet up with Mr. Shaver?
At work.
And where was that?
We work for Walt Disney World.
And what kind of work do you, back then, did you do for Disney?
I was a welder.
And what kind of work did Michael Shaver do for Disney?
He was a mechanic.
And are you aware if he went through an apprenticeship in order to get his job with Disney?
Yes, sir.
And because of the fact he went through their apprenticeship program, did Disney furnish him with tools that he would need?
Yes.
Once that apprenticeship was completed, were those tools still the property of Disney, or was he basically given those tools by Disney?
They were his once he completed.
Now, were you aware of marital issues between Michael Shaver and Laurie Shaver over the course of the time you did that?
Yes.
And did there come a time where he was living at the Warburg's hangar?
Yes.
And when was that in relation to when you first met him?
Probably to the middle of the summer of 2015.
And during that time that he was separated, was there a period of time where you knew Michael was dating someone else?
Yes.
Who was that?
Kendall.
Do you remember her last name?
Davidowski.
Now, at some point, did that relationship end and Michael went back to live at the home with his wife to try to reconcile?
Yes.
And why would he always go back to that situation?
He wanted to be your first kids.
Now, after the time frame that he returns to live at the marital home, were there times that you went over to stay at the Shaver residence in order to house sit?
Yes, sort of. I didn't stay, but I went to visit every day and check on things.
Okay. And what time frame was that occurring?
I would do that in the morning on the way home from work.
Okay, but like what month are we talking about? How close was it to his disappearance?
One time in October and another time when they went on vacation.
Where were Michael and Laurie Shaver when you would go over to check on their house?
One time they were in Reno, one time they were up north of Maryland somewhere.
Now, I want to take you back to November 15th, specifically November 7th of 2015, which was a Saturday. Were you and Mike working together that day?
No.
Did you see him that day?
Yes.
And where did you see him?
Our families went to the Florida Firearm show in Fort Meade, Florida.
And when you say your families, who from the Shavers was there?
Mike, Laurie, and our two kids.
And what about your family?
Myself, my wife, and my daughter.
What was your wife's name at that time?
Rita.
Now, at the point that you were going over there, was this in the time frame that Mike was living back at his home?
Yes.
And how long were you all at this event together?
Probably 10 o'clock in the morning till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
And did Mike and Laurie with their children leave before your family did?
Yes.
And is that 1 o'clock approximately when they left?
Yes, sir.
Was this the last time you actually saw or spoke with Michael Shaver?
Yes.
The following day, November 8th, did you try to contact him?
Yes.
And why were you trying to contact him?
He was working on some of my guns and needed some products to work on them, so I asked if I had gotten the correct items.
And this item that you got, what was it?
It was a gun blowing kit.
And did he specifically tell you to get that particular type of bluing kit?
No, that's why I was touching to ask him if I had gotten what he wanted.
And did he ever respond?
No.
And was that unusual that you would reach out to him and that he wouldn't respond?
Yeah, correct. It was unusual.
Now, the following day, Monday, November 9th, 2015, did you try to contact him?
Yes.
And how did you try to contact him that day?
Through text.
And did you receive a response?
Yes.
And was that response, were you still asking about how he was doing with the gun, or what were you
No,
reaching
his
out?
only response to me was he needed to quit his job to save his marriage.
Okay. Now, when you and Mike worked the same shifts,
Yes.
what was the next day that Michael Shaver was scheduled to work?
Tuesday evening, Tuesday night.
All right, would that be November 10th?
Yes.
All right. Now, What was the shift that you both worked?
11 at night to 7:30 in the morning.
Was that, is that referred to as the third shift?
Yes,
And did Michael Shaver appear at work that day?
no,
The next day that he was scheduled, was that the following day, November 11th?
yes,
Once again, third shift?
correct,
And did he come to work that day?
no,
November 12th, were you both scheduled to work?
yes,
And did he come in on November 12th?
no,
Some point during this time where Michael is not coming to work, did his manager, John Borglum, approach you to try to get some information from you?
yes.
And what type of information was he trying to get?
He was looking for a phone number to make sure he had the correct number to call him up.
And did you provide him that phone number?
Yes,
And what did you do to try to get, well, let me ask you this. After he did not come to work for those 3 days, did you take any other efforts to try to check in on Mr. Shaver and check on his whereabouts?
yes.
What did you do?
I went to the family home Friday morning after work.
And while you were there, did you see Mr. Shaver?
No,
Did you make contact with Laurie Shaver?
yes,
Did you ask him about Michael's whereabouts?
yes.
And what did she tell you?
Said that she thought he was in Georgia.
And why did she say that she thought he was in Georgia?
She had said that his sister had called. and said
Judge,
he was there.
objection. Sorry.
It's on the sideboard, thank you.
Oh, that sidebar sound at first. We'll have to get used to that. Hey, try to anticipate it. Okay, Frank Merritt. He said Michael was a mechanic. They worked the same shifts. And November 10th of 2015, Michael was supposed to be working and he didn't show up for work. That was the first day he didn't show up for work, and he was always a very reliable employee. So that is why the state believes he was murdered between the 7th, when he was last seen in public, and the 10th of November of 2015. And Laurie told him that Michael was in Georgia.
Another person that you all work with?
I didn't work with him, he worked with Mike through the apprenticeship.
Let me ask a better question. Did Robert Mercado also work at Disney?
Yes,
And when Michael would go to work, did he drive his own vehicle?
yes,
And have you seen that vehicle?
yes,
Was that vehicle present at the Shaver residence while you were there?
yes,
And did it have a flat tire?
yes,
But was this the same vehicle that Mike had taken to work the previous week?
yes.
Now, while you were there, did Laurie Shaver describe any sort of argument that she had had with Michael before she claims he left?
Yes,
And what was that argument about?
the argument was about, she had found Kendall's phone number inside Mike's phone, and he could have already erased it.
Now, after this interaction at Michael's home, did you try to contact him?
Yes,
How did you try to contact him?
tried to do what I could with text mostly.
Did you also try physically calling him?
Yes,
When you would call him, did anyone ever answer that number?
no,
And when you would text, were you getting any sort of responses?
sometimes.
And during the time frame that the responses that you got in text, was the tone and the way those texts were sent to you, was that different than messages you had received from Mr. Shaver in the past?
Yes, they were.
How so?
It just wasn't worded differently, it wasn't his joking self.
Now, between the time you last saw Michael Shaver in November and mid-December of 2015, did you have any other contact with Laurie Shaver?
Yes,
And did she tell you about various items of Mike's that she had sold?
yes.
What items of Mike's had she sold at that point?
She had sold his ATVs, his tools, basically everything in the shed.
Okay. And when you're talking about his tools, are you talking about the tools at Disney or tools that he had at the home?
Tools he had on,
And did she tell you how much she got for these items?
yes,
And how much was that?
1,000.
And did you ask her if she was going to send any of that money to Mike?
No,
Okay. Did you ask her if she was sending any of the money to Mike?
no,
Did she mention any other property of Mike's that she was trying to sell?
yes.
What was that?
She had said that Michael had contacted her and wanted her to sell one of his rifles to somebody he knew.
And were you familiar with his various firearms?
Somewhat.
And how were you familiar with the firearms?
Him and I looked at most of them and talked about them. We had some conversations about them.
After she told you that these firearms were going to be for sale, did she ask you to do anything with the firearms?
She asked me to go into the house and make sure all the chambers were clear and put them on safe.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Did she give you a price for these weapons?
She wanted to sell them to me, yes.
And how much was she willing to, how much did she want to sell those guns to you?
$4,500.
Were you interested in buying them?
I wanted to buy them, but not at that price.
Judge, we approach those.
I saved your ears that time. I saved your ears just a little bit. Caught it just before it carried on there. Okay, let's keep it going. The sound back on. So I think this attorney is that Nicholas Amatuccio. There we could see the judge, which is Judge Rada, R-A-D-A. Okay. So we've only got about 15 minutes left of this day one. There's the defendant, Laurie Shaver. Hey. Stop.
Electronic court reporting is having you.
Oh, maybe they're going to ask him to speak up a little bit now, right? So I think this, from what we read from the PCA, this Frank Merritt, who's on the stand, is actually the last person other than, of course, Laurie, to see him alive, you know? So, because he worked with him. I think he saw him at that tractor event, and then he didn't see him again. But interesting to hear how Michael's phone stayed charged, powered on, and was sending messages to people. He said sometimes. This witness said that, yeah, he would receive text messages back sometimes, but phone calls would never be answered. And of course, Laurie was trying to sell Frank all of Michael's firearms, it sounds like, and you know, she was just trying to sell off everything, which is also a red flag, right? Hope 8 Fear says, into the mic, Frank. Right here. Stephanie's like, I like the names in this trial. Shaver, Wiggs, we've got Rada. Okay.
Mr. Merritt, please get closer to the microphone. Electronic court reporting is having some difficulty picking you up, so please get as close as you can and speak up to the best of your ability. Thank you.
Sir. Why were you interested in purchasing these firearms?
I'm a firearm enthusiast and I wanted to hold him one time. In case Mike came back and he wanted them, I could sell them back to him.
Were you planning on selling it back to him at the price that you paid?
Yeah, you can just pay me back, it'd be fine.
How much did you offer her for those firearms?
$2,000.
Did she accept that?
No.
Did she ever contact you about the guns again?
Yes.
And when was this?
Nearing Christmas, probably a week or two before Christmas that same year.
And did she tell you anything about her efforts to dispose of those guns?
Yeah, she said she sold them for $4,300 and that she got to keep 2.
Now, while this is going on, are you trying to reach out and get in touch with Michael Shaver about these firearms?
Yes.
And did you receive any responses from the number previously associated with Mr. Shaver?
Eventually, yes.
And what response did you get from Mike about these firearms?
He told me that he thought I was trying to steal his guns.
And did he reference anything about the price that Laurie had sold the guns for?
No.
Now, the tools that he had at Disney, whatever happened to those?
I have them in my possession.
Okay. And why did you hold on to them?
Well, they're tools. I'm a tool junkie, so...
Before Mr. Shaver's body was discovered,
Yeah.
was there a purpose of you taking possession?
Yeah, if he ever come back and need his tools, he's a mechanic by trade.
Now, had you ever socialized at the Shaver residence itself?
Yes.
And when was the last time you were over at that residence, with November 2015 being the time that Mr. Shaver disappeared?
He didn't Labor Day weekend that year.
At that point, was there any sort of fire pit in the backyard?
No.
What was back there?
A duck pond.
And when you talk about a duck pond, what was going on back there?
They had some pet ducks, and they were digging a pond so that they could concrete it and have the ducks a place to swim.
And had the excavation and digging of that duck pond already started?
It was some done, yes. Like the outside perimeter was dug so you could see the outside shape, and that was about it.
No further questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wiggs.
Yes, ma'am, please record.
Yes, sir.
Go forward a bit.
Mike went to his mom's house?
No.
What'd he tell you?
He went to his sister's house.
Sister's house. And where was that?
She said it was somewhere in Georgia.
Somewhere in Georgia. That's your explicit recall, correct? Okay. And you likewise had an explicit recall moment when you said it was probably sometime in the summer that he was living at the airport, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you would agree with me, you're not really clear as to the detail about all the conversations and everything that took place?
Pretty clear.
Pretty clear? Okay. When you say you got these writings, okay,
Could you tell us how you could clarify, this one came from Laurie Shaver, this one came from Michael, this one came from this location, this came from Michael? Do you know how you could do that?
I can't do that. I just know it comes from his phone.
So you're not capable of doing that, but you've spoken on your direct examination as if these things were represented to you, and in fact, you don't know who or where they came from, correct?
It came from Michael's number.
Michael's number. But you don't know who sent those, do you?
No.
Okay, let's be clear on that. Now, you said that you had this relationship with Michael. How often would y'all get together off work?
Every couple of weeks.
Every couple weeks, okay. How often did you do that every couple weeks?
2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times?
Yeah, maybe once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks.
2 or 3 times?
Yeah.
For how long?
After I had finally met Laurie, we started doing things as a family that
Give me
way.
a date.
I can't give you a date.
You can't give me a date, okay? Now, between 11/7 and 2015 and 9/15 of 2016, how many times were you at the Shaver residence?
So a couple times that I went seeing Laurie.
Okay. That's the date of the information. You witnessed no homicide, did you?
No.
Okay. You don't know specifically who sent you certain information, do you?
No.
How well did you know the kids, the children in this relationship?
Not very well.
Okay. You know of any health issues of any of the children?
No.
Okay. You spoke about you went to some truck show or
Tractor show.
tractor show?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long were you there?
I was there from around 10 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
And Mike had a relationship going as well with some girl named Kendall, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was that a productive relationship? Did it go south, so to speak? What?
I can only tell you what he told me, but yeah, eventually it ended.
It ended, right? Did it ever occur to you some of those emails may have been from Kendall or somebody else?
No.
Okay, that never occurred to you?
No.
Okay. You don't know who murdered Michael Shaver, do you?
No.
But you've taken a stand and you've said that Laurie Shaver sold some guns, right?
Yes.
And you have no knowledge of one of those guns associated with any crime Michael Shaver is.
No.
So what does that prove to you? Does it prove anything in your mind?
No.
Okay, very well.
Would Mike sometimes drive to work Laurie's white truck?
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about a truck at the residence that was observed, correct?
Yes.
But you know Michael was driving Laurie's white truck as well, correct?
Yes.
And any tools that were sold?
Do you have any idea how that may be tied to the death of Michael Shaver?
No.
One moment, please, Judge.
We can hear every breath.
Do you have any knowledge whether or not Laurie needed any money when she sold those guns?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know if she needed money, no.
Okay. It would make sense, would it not, that the gun may be sold for monetary reasons?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Correct? Yes, sir. The correspondence you had with Michael Shaver after November 2015 is that solely
Yes, sir.
no emails.
No emails.
And when you went over there and saw Michael Shaver's vehicle at his residence, when you went and checked on him in November 12th, was Laurie Shaver's truck also there?
Yes.
Nothing further, Judge.
Thank you.
Nothing, Judge.
All right. And may the witness be excused from his subpoena?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Simon. Attention today. Again, should you see the attorneys out and about, and if they ignore you, please don't hold that against them. They are just following the law and the court's instructions. Please do not watch any media concerning the case, and do not do any research concerning the case. So we'll see you back tomorrow at 8 a.m., jury assembly room. Have a great night. Thank you.
Let's see if anything else happens here. Go forward a bit.
Right, you may be seated.
Okay.
Is there anything further before we adjourn for the day?
Your Honor, real briefly, and if you would prefer to address this issue more in depth tomorrow morning, it's inappropriate for attorneys to ask witnesses legal conclusions, and that was the basis of my objection as to Mr. Leig's asking him about whether or not this evidence proves anything or things like that. And we believe that that is inappropriate, and we would ask that no further questions along that line be asked of future witnesses.
All right. Well, if they are asked, just make the appropriate objections, sir. And if there's nothing further, we'll adjourn for the day, and we'll reconvene at 8:30 tomorrow morning.
8:30. Thank you, Judge.
8:30. Yes, sir. All right. We're adjourned.
Okay, wait. Better not make that sound in our ear now. Let's just see her go. She always has her handbag and seen the hearings with her previously. Just gonna walk out now. Like, yes, here we go. Angie, thank you so much. Defendant, Laurie Leigh Shaver. Defense directing her out. Okay. And then it glitches. Wow, okay, I think and then it ends. So, sure, everyone, that was a busy day. My goodness. Here we were for trial prep. And then we went straight into opening statements and the first witness. Wow, okay. So tomorrow we'll meet for day 2. Kat says, are we defluffing tomorrow, G? Absolutely. So if they're starting, so they told the jury to be in the jury assembly room at 8 o'clock. They told the attorneys to be there at 8:30. 2:30 for me. So we're going to start at 4:30 or 5. 2 to 2.5 hours. My time, sorry, I'm working it out. 2 to 2.5 hours after they start so that we can skip over lunch break, coffee break, any fluff, any pauses, sidebars, things like that, okay? silent sidebars, of course. You don't miss a thing. Don't worry. When we skip over things, it's so that we don't just sit around like looking at the wall of the fan, right? Paul said, "Hi G, you are a great teacher." Is that so? Thank you so much. He said, "I've learned so much from you and seriously appreciate your hard work and dedication for justice." Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for bearing with me today. There was a little bit of a choppy day one. It's not the way I usually like it. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so that wasn't great, but it's okay. I'm going to do the timestamps now for you. Should make it a little bit easier to follow as well. And then I'll see you tomorrow for day 2. This trial is expected to last about 2 weeks. I wasn't too sure. The court docket is all over the place, and I'm like, it's not making sense. So I contacted them today. The court clerk said it is scheduled to last for about 2 weeks, but if they need a little bit less time or a little bit more time, they can just adjust. So, but about 2 weeks, this week and next week or so. All right, everyone. So that's what we'll be doing. And then, of course, if there's other breaking news and things, please check out my community tab. Check out my YouTube shorts. If there's a live that we can do before the time or after the time, we will do that as well. But yeah, most of my energy will be going into this right now so that we can hopefully see justice for Michael. This has been a long, long time for Michael Shaver to get justice. I mean, it took 3 years for anyone to realize that he's really actually missing. And then it took 2 more years for Laurie Shaver to be arrested. And then she posted her bond. You know, she paid $50,000 and she bonded out. So it must have been about a $500,000 bond, I would assume. And she's been at home. And now here we are at the trial, okay? In September of 2024. My goodness. So to Michael's family and friends, I hope that you know that this community has got your back. We support you. We want to see full justice for Michael. And everyone, I will see you then tomorrow, okay? Thank you so much. Looking forward to reading your comments as always. And thank you, mods. I really, really appreciate it. Bye, everyone.